Okay. Hey everyone, the mics are hot, just so you know.
We gather in the cosmos bright. Stars and ships take flight tonight. In the void where dreams do play. Soul citizens lead the way. Borders fade in nebula's light. Unknown worlds will chart tonight. Through the galaxy we soar. Endless journeys at our core. Borders fade in nebula's light. Unknown worlds will chart tonight. Through the galaxy we soar. Endless journeys at our core. Starry roads in endless skies. Soul citizens we rise. Charting courses never lost. Together the verses crossed. Squadrons call on the horizon.
I have a background?
Battles fought, our hearts aren't frightened. In our ships we face the dawn. Soul citizens carry on. Oh, planets spin and light years fly. Boundless space where hopes reside. Motherhood in every star. Soul citizens, here we are. Borders fade in nebula's light. Unknown worlds will chart tonight. Through the galaxy we soar. Endless journeys at our core. Starry roads in endless skies. Soul citizens we rise. Charting courses never lost. Together the verses crossed.
Hello. Greetings. Welcome back to the Soul Citizens. I am GriffinGamingRPG, and today is Sunday, March the 22nd, and we are happy to be back with you guys today on this great day, great weekend, almost the end of March, just one more week to go. And I am joined by members of the Soul Team. Yes, the Soul Team. Yes, I said the Soul Team. We have, you may not think this other person is a part of the Soul Team, but they are. So I'm going to introduce, first of all, my co-host, Captain Jones. How are you, Captain Jones?
Doing well, my soul friends. Hope everybody else is.
Good. Everything going good, Cap? Nothing exciting happening up on the East Coast? Things are quiet?
Just waiting for this endless hot again, cold again weather to end so we can get to enjoying some stability.
Yeah, we're in spring now, right? Was it Friday? It was the first day of spring, right? So the weather has changed up a little bit. It was 70 here yesterday. Now it's 38. So
Yeah,
go
they're
figure.
saying it's spring, but then I get icicles, so you never know what's going on.
Okay. And also joining us, a familiar face to our community, Admiral Kusanagi. Some of you may not know that Admiral is one of our moderators. He's been one of our longtime supporters and been a moderator for our group for many years, literally years now. And every once in a while, we get to have him come on the show, and we're always happy to have him. So, Admiral, how the heck are you doing?
Not too bad. Happy spring, everybody.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, Griff, I just want to make sure, am I not available to get the any ship giveaways now? Is that what I'm hearing?
Oh yeah, if you're on here, no, you know what? You're a guest, so you get away with it.
Oh, thank God.
You can put in. You can put in.
I had to turn the camera off and leave. I was like, oh, I gotta go.
Otherwise, Colossal would be mad. So yeah, you can. You might get mad because you can do it, right?
Yeah.
But no, we're happy to have you on with us, Admiral. And once again, thank you guys for being here. We see who's out there. Fast Cart, The Prisoner, Pops in Space, Coffee Gaming. Let's see who's there. Sandgroper's here. Good to see you. I don't know if that's Me Eat. I'm sure that's Me Eat. Me Eat. Good to see you. West Texas, 98. Are you serious? 98 degrees. I was in Dallas last week and it was freaking 38 degrees. It was freezing. Oh my God, it was horrible. I did not expect that. So it was 98 there. That's pretty good. Coffee, good to see you as always. And then we've got Radar Echo 6533 hanging in over there at YouTube. Good to see you, Shimpasta. Happy to have you here with us as well. Thank you guys for being here to help kick us off today on this Sunday. We're going to go ahead and jump into it and talk about what's been going on this past week in Star Citizen as usual. Each time, every time we do a show, I always think, well, not much is going to go on. And then you look at the Star Citizen this week thing and it looks like there's not much there. But then at the end of the week, there's usually a bunch of stuff that's out there to talk about. So that's what we are going to do right now with you guys. So let me see. Am I all set up for this? I think I am. Let's hit the very first thing. A lot of stuff didn't happen at the beginning of the week. Admiral Cap, we had kind of a quiet beginning of the week. But on Thursday, on Inside Star Citizen, we got the patch report. And these shows are a little bit different than when they do full-blown patch shows. This is one where it's just like a quick overview of where things are before a patch actually releases. Usually when the patch releases, they'll do a bigger one. Some of the items that you guys see on the screen, and I just wanted to just pick a couple of these, the ones that kind of interest you, because there's a bunch of them. But the things that were listed were stability, bug fixes, LTP between PTU releases, Operation Breaker Stations, the QV Breaker Station locations, inventory rework, crafting, fabricator and blueprints, engineering updates, radar assisted targeting, radar components and shops are going to arrive in the future PTU patch. We're finally getting radar components and the Nix social station. So Admiral, you're the guest. What on there sparks your interest, catches your eye, curious about?
I'll start off with saying, oh hell. I guess I'll go first. I'll just hit the radar assisted targeting and radar components. When I think it was last time the tracker was out, I ended up buying that. I bought that years ago. I think it was one of my first ships I actually bought, and that was 2016, so I had it for quite a while, and I kind of was like, well, I could use this ship, this money for something else, and then I kind of was like, well, I got the Mark II out. It's a nice looking ship. I still have faith in the radar stuff, so that's what I got. So I'm looking to see, how that fares against the stuff you can add on to your ship. I kind of think that might get to it, but they do show a picture later on. That I think it might be a shield components, but we'll see, like modules and stuff like that. So I'm looking forward to a lot and see what happens and seeing and what people can do to increase their range or now it's like increase your focus fire, I believe. You have to have like a stronger stealth component to stronger radar component to hit people's from further away in your focus fire. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious, Admiral, as to, how we have these ships that are they're dedicated some things. Like, for example, you mentioned like the stealth or the tracking capability on the Hornet tracker. You've got they've already talked about how the Saber and the Raven, because of the new stuff with stealth, that those things, those ships kind of come already with that in there, right? They're enhanced. And I'm curious if when you get your tracker, will it come with I'm assuming it will. It'll come with some type of better scanner. And then the question is, can you even do better than that? Or will you have like the best type of scanner, radar rather, I should say, in that ship? I don't know if that's the case, but I do know that there are variants in the radar, from my understanding. The radar now will allow you to detect much further out and even give you more pips and stuff, depending. It's supposed to be the way I heard it described with these modules that we're going to get. So I'm curious what a class, I'm just using this reference, a class D versus a class B looks like, You've
got the modules that you can put into a server bay. You think about like a slot bay. You can upgrade and change it, and it pulls more or less power.
But that's what they said. Power is the factor.
Specifically for like ships like the tracker and the Terrapin, which actually have a pre-installed radar. Well, we'll call it a radar dome on the top and bottom. I know that the Terrapin has got one on the top and the bottom. For different types of scanning. I think the long range is on top. So. But like that is going to be like the best type of radar system you can, unless you can upgrade a ship with that type of system. So I think like the pinnacle of classes is still going to be those two ships and the ships like them. But then your ability to just like an F-35 would increase their radar capability by swapping something out inside of it. That's what we're looking at. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Captain Jones, how about you? Anything on that list capture your eye?
Few things, but I'll narrow it down. I mean, crafting for sure. I mean,
Okay. Have
that's
you been
pretty
doing
much
any?
no.
Have you been doing any?
Yeah. I've been crafting. There's is it's the beginning, it's the infancy, which
Mhm.
where we start off with most things, but it's interesting and hopefully leads to some compelling gameplay to where you're actually crafting items that are unique to you, or at least not as easily found.
Mm.
Unique assets, unique components, unique everything, so that it gives purpose to a lot of what we're doing out there. The mining and the salvaging isn't just so that you can turn in some boxes and get paid, but so that you can actually create something more, and more importantly, near and dear to my heart, base building. So I see crafting as our segue into that as we start to be able to put together bigger and larger things. Then everybody get to hold and glimpse the Soul Station
Yeah.
orbiting over there somewhere in the Terra system, and know that all started here today with our Tier 0 crafting.
Okay. Cool. I know for me, I didn't monkey around very much until we got the patch, and I waited to see how the inventory was going to flesh out, because I know when it first went to Evocati, it had some issues. I'm liking the new inventory system. I'm finding out that as always, when we have something in the game that's been in for a very long time, change is always an issue. It feels different, and first it feels quirky, but eventually we start to kind of get where they're going with it. And for those of you, by the way, who do not do this, I'm going to say it because I've talked to so many people over the last few weeks who don't do this and they struggle. I've been hearing people say that they got to get used to dragging stuff over. And I'm not talking about dragging from to your inventory. I'm saying from inventory to you. Y'all, people told me they didn't know you could do this. You can double click on items. If you double click on an item, it will jump immediately onto your body. Now, you do have to drag it off. But for speed's sake, I've been double clicking for years, and I've been amazed at how many people who told me I didn't know you could double click. So if you've been dragging all this time to put stuff on you, unless you just enjoy, the immersion of dragging, you might minimize some of your frustration by double clicking on items. So I'm liking the inventory. I am curious to see how that's going to refine more. Especially when CIG talked about this idea of being able to expand what you're wearing, like utility or pouches and things like that. I'm curious if that screen's going to start get too crowded or too stacked, because that's the other issue too, is getting used to looking where things are. But I know it's just a matter of time, but I am excited about inventory so far and where that is. And I want CIG to get us closer and closer to that place where we really have to think about what it is we carry, that you just can't have that magic bag of holding attitude where you can carry everything you need. I think it should be way more right tool for the right job with that. But I know some people aren't going to like that, but that's what I'm looking forward to. So yeah, that's it. The Inside Star Citizen was brief. It was, Disco just doing his thing, sharing some points of what was coming up. So that's that. Let's move on to the next one. Level Up. Some of you all may be familiar with the Level Up. Some of you may not be. I was not that up on it. I heard of it and I knew it was a convention, but that's all I knew about it until last year when we were preparing to go to do Quantum Vegas. We decided to go to Level Up because CIG had talked about being there last year. And we had met with them, and we were talking to people at CLX, and so we myself and CC Creator went, and we went to this convention. And if you had to describe what Level Up is, it's kind of difficult. But Level Up is it's okay. They have 140,000 people that show up at the Las Vegas Convention Center on that weekend. It is huge, and it's all ages. Not a lot of old folks like me, but it is a pretty wide demographic of people, and it's more like Comic-Con. I would describe it as being more like that, even though there is some PC stuff going on. There's some VR stuff that was going on, but it is a huge, huge convention. And this year, CIG has a booth. They were going to share one last year. This year, they have their own booth. They're sponsored by AMD and Virpil, and they are going to be there. And they also have put out an invitation for people to come and hang out with them. Did you guys get a chance, first of all, to see the page on the RSI website? And if you haven't, I'm going to tell you to take a look at it. Fastcart just put the link in the chat. So Cap, Admiral, if you guys have seen it, give me your thoughts on what you saw. Cap, I'll come to you first this time. Did you get a chance to see it, the page for Level Up?
Yeah, I took a look at it. So I've heard of Level Up before, but never really paid much attention to it. But when I saw it on the sixth page, thought that they were going to be there and they're asking people to come by, it sparked a little bit of curiosity to, what is that leading to? They've got sponsors, they've got presents, and maybe a little hopium that this is their first foray into starting to get the game that shall not be named for 2026 out.
Okay.
And that's just their start of their tour. I was a little disappointed last year when Gamescom came and gone, and there was no talk to it. So hopefully this year this is what we're starting to see in fruition. Them hitting up the different spots and starting to promote their game.
Okay. Meat. Thank you earlier for that sub. I meant to say that, so I didn't want to think I forgot about you. Thank you for that sub. And Thorn 1234000. Thank you for your sub as well. Appreciate you both out there supporting us. Admiral, how about you? Did you get a chance to look at the page? If you're looking at it now, that's fine. Give me your initial
I'm looking
thoughts.
at it right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Let's be honest, folks. I'm just looking at it right now.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, it's fine.
I think it looks pretty cool. It looks like a Comic-Con, like you said, like a Comic-Con with anime, getting autographs and so forth.
Yep.
But it's what CIG needs to do to kind of get their voice out there to kind of showcase that this game is not a stupid game and not a BS game either. That it's a real thing, and I'm glad they're able to kind of just push out there here or there. I'm sure there's going to be plenty more during the year. I think it's something. Isn't there like a big Gamescon in like August or so?
Yeah. This is the season stuff's going to start happening. Yeah.
So I would assuming things now. Look out. That we're going to see a lot of this year, and I think this is just the start. So it's great to see that 2026 is starting off with at least something, because everybody else is like, well, I mean, there's still people, backers today that think like, well, they said 2026, but we'll see what happens. Yeah, and I think that we with this type of stuff is kind of where we start seeing that we're right on track and things look good. I'm a big proponent for that. We're going to have CitizenCon be the Squadron 42 event and release, so we'll see what happens with that. But this is what we need.
Yeah. Those are good points, Admiral. I'm laughing at Parker. I see you in the chat. Makes you wonder about Quantum Vegas, right? If we're going to do Quantum Vegas, we are going to put out an announcement about Quantum Vegas, probably right the end of this month. But there will be some news about it. What if and what we're doing. So just kind of stay tuned for that. You'll see something come out for that. And to Admiral's point, this is a different group that they're reaching out to. We don't know what this is going to look like. And I think Captain Jones, you touched on, does this become the beginning of marketing? It doesn't necessarily have to be marketing for Squadron 42, but is it introducing the Star Citizen universe to a broader group of people? I mean, 140,000 people being at an event like that is a major, major event. You have to wonder, will this be, there'll be many people there that have never heard of Star Citizen, because this will be something brand new to them. And to Admiral's point, this is starting to open that door up to possibly where the game is now. There is I don't know if they're going to be doing VR. I don't know, but they partner with some old friends. Virpil's an old friend. AMD is an old friend of CIG as far as sponsorship goes. CLX is also a sponsor. And you guys know CLX has been doing the computers for when they've been doing them at CitizenCon. So when we were there last year, CLX had a area with about 100 PCs where people were playing stuff. So it's going to be really interesting. And they've invited people like us to go. Now, there is some interesting things happening, and I'm going to get off this subject real quick. There is a after party. If you look on the page, if you go to the after party, I wish Serious Fun was here, because I think it was $45 to go to the after party. It's like a Bar Citizen after party. But you can also get a table, right? There were 3 tiers of tables: tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Tier 3 tables are gone. The next table is at a casino. It's at a club at a casino. The next tier table are $700. It's like a bottles table, right? And then the first tier table is like $1,000, right? So Captain Jones, whenever you're ready, you let me know. Admiral, we're gonna pick you up on the way. All right, 300 a person, we can handle it. If you guys
to
want to
take care of
go,
my flight costs, I think I'd be all set.
you'll be okay. Yeah.
Flight and
So
hotel, and
yeah.
I
Now
want to be
this
at
is
the
the
Hilton. Okay?
yeah. Radio Rice, absolutely. I don't want to make people get the wrong impression. It is combined with the expo. It's the expo's after party. Now you don't have to do that, okay? Like I said, it's $45. But if you're a big baller and you want to drop in pop bottles, you can do that. Now let me ask both of you a question. I don't think we have ever seen, and I've been around a long time, we have never seen CIG market an event like this on their website. Do you think that this is significant, or is it just something they're just, because they're going to be there? Because they've gone to Dragon Con, PAX East, they've done all those things, right? GDC, Gamescom, and they did live telecasts and stuff. But I think this is the first time we've seen them create an actual page, information, all that stuff. Do you guys think this is leading to something, or do you think it's just a partnership thing? You just make it real quick. Yay, nay, or maybe.
I use my Ellie Airway.
Leading for sure.
I use my Ellie Airway from Contact. I believe I already answered that question, Your Honor.
Okay. What'd you say, Cap?
I said leading for sure.
Oh, leading to something. Okay. All right. That's fair. That's fair. All right.
I will say that for them, before we jump off of this,
sure.
Because of the crowd and everybody dressing up and stuff like that, and like everybody and dressing up as their favorite anime characters, if they're not like have a separate area or one or two tables set aside to just do like character creations to show people what they can create for themselves,
yeah, that'd be cool.
A really bad idea not to have that. So they need to have that. Yeah, missed opportunity.
Yeah, no, you're right. And mind you, it's sci-fi. To your point, it's anime, it's voice acting, it's a lot of stuff within that world. They walking around as furries too, y'all. I mean, it's a little bit of everything at this event. It's a really, really big event. And the one thing that CC and I noted when we were there was that sci-fi was not really as pronounced. Like there weren't a lot of people doing it. Now I don't know what the reason was for that. There was some stuff that was Star Trek-ish, Star Wars-ish stuff there, but it was just interesting. And we were thinking, man, if they were to introduce something like that, it would be really an interesting thing. So we'll see.
So you think, Griff, if what we need is, I know we have bears heads in the game already. What you want is foxes.
That would be good. People walk around with the big bear heads. Hey, that people would come running over.
Like that.
Yeah. Somebody come with the big bear head. That's a good one.
Bring in the furries from Wing Commander.
Bring in the furries.
There you
Jesus, go. Yes. The big lions and stuff.
All right. We quite often get a chance to talk about Atmo Esports, but one of the oldest, if not the oldest, I keep hearing that this is actually the oldest race, and I've just never verified it, but I'm going to believe it, that Crux Cup was one of the first racing groups in the Star Citizen universe, and this is their endurance championships are coming up, gold standard in Star Citizen community esports and team-based ship racing. The Crux Cup Racing Series has been running annually for 11 years. And to find and award pilots among us who proved themselves as the fastest in the Empire. And so I don't know if it's just because we don't hear a lot more about them, and maybe Atmo is just maybe a little bit more out there as far as their marketing goes. But have either of you guys ever participated, been involved, or know anybody who's done Crux Cup at all? Admiral?
I'll
let Captain Jones go first.
No, even though I've heard of it, don't know anybody who's participated in it specifically. Most of the people I know have been focused on Daemar Rally. So now that we're talking about it here, it's kind of piqued my interest a little bit to see what the differences and variations between the two races are going to be like, because they mentioned it's endurance, so it sounds like it's going to be a lengthy race as well. So I think I'll be checking it out.
Yeah. Admiral, how about you?
I don't know anyone that did the Crux Cup. I mean, I practiced to do the Daemar Rally it was a couple of years ago. I was a backup driver, but luckily I didn't have to do that because the team got wiped out by people who got, they came in.
Oh, yeah, they crashed the game for you guys. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
So luckily I didn't have to go through that horror show.
Yeah. If I were to ask you guys, this is always a matter of preference, I'm sure, but sometimes it's a matter of performance. If you were to pick a racing ship, if you were to be in a race, and let's say it was a racing track where there's a bit of maneuvering skills needed, what would you pick? Cap, what would you pick? Which ship would you say this is the ship I'd take into a race like that? One of the canyons or something like that. What would you take?
It's something. Yeah, I think something small and nimble. So I think something like a Fury if we're talking about needing agility and being able to turn corners.
Okay.
Otherwise, I go to my go-to favorite, which is always the Razor series.
Okay. Admiral, how about you?
Yeah, it really depends on the course. I do have the racing variant of the Fury, I think.
Okay.
I do have like a bunch of racing suits because I do have and I mean because you have the M50, you have like what the 3, and this is the Origin version and stuff like that. But
Mm-hmm.
and I like the Razor series a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It really just comes down to what ship you prefer to, which like what you like are I guess accustomed to, and what the course is,
Mm-hmm.
and like the aesthetics of that. I mean, the Razor is just really nice because you see kind of like everything, at least from the top portion and then down a bit, and
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the Fury is kind of like enclosed a bit because you can see everything, but so you have these giant bars in front of you like the TIE Fighter version.
Right.
But it's just, I mean, it's okay. But I mean, if I'm glad that the Crux Cup is doing so well, and someone outside of CIG was able to kind of put this thing together so more people can get involved and enjoy the time while we're waiting for 1.0.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
Because eventually, GripHax is supposed to be a course, so we'll see how long it takes to put that in there.
What is supposed to be a course?
Grimhex.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, I remember we had so much excitement about hearing that when they put that in, and they actually put in the area for you to be able to watch racing, and it just kind of fizzled. And I mean, it was such a great idea. And I'm sure, maybe in the future they'll come up with something that's out there and redesign that area so it can happen. But I was looking, kind of got like the areas where you feel like you can gamble and do all this other stuff, and there's places to drink and sit and watch. And it's too bad that that isn't something that players can go to. I would love for that to come alive. I really would.
Doesn't exist, right? Like there's no.
No, they'd have to create. There's markers out, but it's not. I don't think it's designed. I think it was just kind of a placeholder for the idea out there.
Okay.
But there were some people who did it. There were some people that went over there and did some racing at one point. But just like how Daymar is a spot that everybody knows, it'd be really nice if that gets fleshed out in a way and have reasons to go there. You know what I mean? It would be really kind of cool to do that. I don't know how we secure the area. That would be kind of tough.
I can just imagine races and you just see these like spontaneous missile locks
just come out of nowhere. That's what I'm saying. It'd be kind of crazy. I don't know.
Like
it'll be
Tusken Raiders during Phantom Menace, just taking some pop shots.
Yeah, it would be really wild, I'm sure. Citizen Kilroy, thank you for that resub. 52 months. Oh, you're an old dinosaur. You've been around a long time. And Ops Chief, thank you. Oh, 52 months there too. Oh my God, you guys both 52 months. Thank you, Ops Chief. Ops Chief's another one of our moderators for the Soul Citizens. Thank you, buddy. Let's see. What was I going to say? Stunner, unless I'm mistaken, algorithm. Yes. In fact, Stunner, you're right. In fact, that's kind of how I remembered was I heard Algrit talking about it, that they're one of the oldest racing teams. And if I'm not mistaken, they're out of Australia, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, they are like, they've been around a long, long time, which is actually pretty cool. Danger Hobo says, yeah, player-made courses are too nebulous to care enough to learn. It's like racing your kid brother. Guess what? He wins. That's pretty good. Let's see. Next up. Oh, past the across. Oh, let me ask you guys this. There are, I gave you guys which ship would you take for running a course that was like through a canyon where there had to be a lot of maneuvering. But if you were taking something that was about speed, what would you take? Because I'm curious about certain ships. Like back in the day, the lore was like the M50 was great for maneuvering, but the 350R was great for straight line. But then you started getting the Misk. Well, they're not Misk now. They're Murai. You start getting those ships in, and then you start getting like the Peregrine. how do you guys feel about any of those new racing ships that got introduced? Is there something that's the king of the hill when it comes to straight line speed? I mean, some people I've heard race with a Herald straight line speed, but is there anything that you guys would recommend in regard to that?
I think
All
it's
depends
still,
on the patch.
yeah.
Okay, not the ship, but the patch. What are you gonna say, Admiral?
I think the I mean, there's like I recall like the Fury being like nimble. I don't remember being like the straight line person. I thought it was like the M50, like you said, and maybe the Razor, and I don't know about the Peregrine or the Pelican or whatever the hell they're calling it. So yeah.
Pelican. CC Creator, thank you for that sub, 49 months. Appreciate you on that Prime. We love it. We love it. We love it. Yeah, I was curious about the. I'm a one of the ships that I say this. One of the ships that I decided to collect are the Saber series of ships, and it's because I got the Raven, and then I decided to get the Saber, and then I got the Firebird. I did not buy the Peregrine. And I don't know if I just said maybe I'll just earn it in game. That's probably what my attitude has been about it. But I don't know if it's a good racer or not. You know, they had a great commercial for it, but have either of you guys flown that ship? No? Okay, neither one of them have flown it. Neither one of you guys have flown the Peregrine, really?
I've flown it, but I haven't raced it.
You haven't raced
it's it's a little on the large side for me.
Okay.
You know, if you're doing any of those races in, you know, online and you're going through the little check marks on the different courses, you want something a little bit smaller and agile. Sometimes you can race something big just for the fun of it or to practice, but a little on the large side for me when it comes to racing. I generally would go something smaller like a Razor or M50.
Okay. All right. Do you guys do the Krugers?
Oh yeah, I love the Archimedes.
Which one? The Archimedes. Okay.
272, yeah.
You put that over the Merlin. Or they equal.
Ship, so yeah.
Okay.
So,
Okay. All right.
At least it is now, but like I said, it depends on the patch.
Depends on the patch. Okay.
I just bought the new St. Patrick's Day green racing suit, so I'm all ready to go. So if you guys
you're good to go now.
Together, let us know.
Yeah. That means you're gonna go. Green is greasy fast, so maybe that's what green will be. You'll be the fastest person out there. Maybe I don't know.
And it's usually for how much if you wear the 3D goggles, it's just so when you puke all over your keyboard, at least it looks normal.
Oh, you know what? I know there was another question I was going to ask about the racing thing. How did you guys feel about CIG when they were describing the benefits of wearing a racing suit? Did you guys hear it? What they said?
Yeah.
Cooling G's better. Now, there's some people who said something. There's somebody who said this in the chat, and it was an interesting point. They said, if that's the case, why would pilots wear pilot flight suits? They'll wear the racing suits. Do you think that there's something? What'd you say, Admiral?
You get to put your Snickers bar in someplace when you have a pilot suit on.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Do you think what's going to be the negative? Because I can understand why some people might say that, but what would
things
be the
like
negative?
Storage or EVA? I mean, there's going to be some drawbacks.
Yeah. A drawback.
There's going to be things that you can do in that flight suit, especially assuming that maybe you want to jump out the ship at some point. You know, do some pew pew. There's going to be some things that you're going to have advantage that you just won't have in a racing suit. Just like there's certain racing ships that just don't have storage and other things. So I could see those being the same.
Okay. All right. That's fair. All right. The Galactopedia. We don't talk enough about the Galactopedia, and we should, because Star Citizen is for many years, lore was a huge thing, and we talked about lore a lot. And then it seems like it just kind of got very quiet. CIG still puts out those things from occasionally from time to time. But recently, when I say recently, I mean over the last year, maybe even a little more, they have been putting out and fleshing out more and more, not just the lore in relation to the planetary systems and things like that, but they've been talking about people, characters. They've been talking about locations. They've been talking about animals, food, all types of stuff that they've been adding more and more to the Galactopedia. In this last hit, they put out a whole bunch of stuff. I'm just going to name a few of those things. They did stuff on the A1 Spirit They did the A2 Hercules. They did a thing called Adia Firmino. I didn't read that one yet. Aaron Halo. They've got, for those of you who want to know about the Aaron Halo, we hear people talk about it all the time in Stanton, but you can check out the information there. Abini Ocone, I don't know who that is. They talk about Aberdeen Hurston. They talk about Aberdeen itself as Stanton 1B. They go through a whole bunch of stuff here. I can't even pronounce half of the words that are listed here. And then they do a whole thing on Asiado. Those of you who Asiado, I don't know how you the real pronunciation of that. Communications. Those are the people who do all the satellite systems throughout the different systems. And you guys have always seen the Asiado station that they show in Squadron 42. They go down the list of talking about origin ships. There's a whole bunch of stuff that's been in this last update. So my question to you guys is that as CIG has been fleshing out the Galactopedia, first of all, do you ever get time to take a look at it? Secondly, are you using it as a resource? And if not, that's fine. I'm just curious where the Galactopedia stands with you guys. Admiral, I'll go to you first on this
one. I used to. I've just been getting back into SC a little bit more. So I haven't really had the opportunity to jump in to see what was kind of revised. And I know they used to give the updates like, hey, this is what we kind of changed to put in there. So it's, when they do that, it's really kind of cool to see. So yeah, it's probably something I need to kind of get back into and see what's going on.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. Cap.
Yeah, I would say initially or back in the day, in there a lot more. You know, gathering the lore. There's a lot more theory crafting back then, so we were trying to figure out what all the different ships means and what was coming out and what potential planets were happening. Then there was a bit of a drought, and I could see why, because things were changing so often and so fast that it didn't make sense to be constantly updating the Galactopedia, knowing it was going to change. Now I'm starting to see an influx of new information again, and I'm finding it interesting because I'm hoping that the reason why there's been more of a push to update a lot of that lore and data is for two reasons. One, trying to solidify some info for Squadron 42, and they're just setting out their foundation for 1.0 as well. I think before they were kind of a little bit more aimless as far as what they wanted it to say there, and I think maybe now they have it more sketched out. Less theory crafting, and now they're ready to start telling the story.
Yeah. It's interesting that you mentioned theory crafting, because I've heard people theory craft about things that the lore does speak about, but then I also hear people theory crafting because the lore doesn't speak about stuff. And I mean, don't get me wrong, theory crafting can be a fun thing, but I've also heard theory crafting get to a point where it starts to sound authoritative. Like people are putting this piece and this piece and this piece together, and they formulated this is the way it's going to be, and it's like, well, did CIG say that? Some of you guys remember that CIG years ago did a series called The Lore Maker's Guide to the Galaxy. And it wasn't that comprehensive. It didn't cover everything that was in the star map, but they did highlight a lot of systems in the star map and would break those systems down, talk about the type of star that was there, talk about the different planets that were there, the moons, orbital bodies, whatever was there. And they were pretty informative. Some people really enjoyed that. Some people, it was like, we ain't got one system barely, so I can talk about 8 other systems or 20 other systems. But if you haven't watched Lore Makers, I would tell you just to go back and take a look at it. Much of the information is still relevant. At the very least, it gives you an idea of what CIG wants to be able to do. Let me ask you guys this. When we go into our Moby Glass, there is some system information, very limited though, right? There's a thing that says, if you go over to Hurston, here's the jurisdictional laws. Here's some things in there about food and drink, right? Do you think that if they incorporate the Galactopedia in some other way, it would become more meaningful to people? And like if you're doing a mission, for example, and you run into something, should the Galactopedia maybe be a resource that if you've never heard of something before, or you see something written somewhere, that you should be able to go there and pull that information? Versus off-site, right? Like versus going to a third-party site. How do you guys feel about something like that?
Like especially if it's dynamic and being updated. So I can see, should we go back to exploration? You're getting out to a system. You talked about knowing the laws and jurisdictions, or the jurisdiction for that particular system, or even expand upon that, getting out to a system and not knowing that this planet you're about to land on it is riddled with a particular plague or parasitic life forms, and you don't know it unless you actually go in and do a little bit of research before you land.
Yeah.
The Galactopedia could turn into a database that you actively use and make decisions in the game. I could find that interesting.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it'd get kind of stale because, as you mentioned, people use it for theory crafting, and then I think one of the reasons why they maybe pull back on updating as much is because we'll point to it. Look at Nyx right now. They say, well, that planet can't have trees on it because in Galactopedia that planet was barren and now it's got forests and all that. So people get nitpicky with it, but if they make it so that there's a purpose to it, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. Admiral, you got any thoughts?
I just think it'd be part of just the lore. Like when you get a mission, it'll probably be like learn more. Like, would you like to know more from Starship Troopers? And that will be an option you can look at to kind of get more intel on the location you're going to, or if you're looking for something to looking for, say you're looking for a place to drop off cargo or your minerals. You might want to see what's around and see it might give you information on any asteroid belts around there. It might give you information on criminal activity and so forth. So but it's always good to kind of have the ability to have because there are a ton of people who love the lore of this game. And it's just kind of nice to have just in general. But there will probably be people who won't really care about it. And that's the way they play. So CIG is making something for a lot of different people, and I think it's kind of cool for them to have. So, props to the lore team, and thank you very much for your service to make this game the best they can. So thanks.
Yeah. It's interesting that you say that, Admiral, because Dave Haddock and many of the team members have been around a decade writing this stuff. And it's no small task to write this stuff and maintain continuity. And I think Captain Jones says this earlier, things change over time. Some things get redacted, maybe game direction changes and shifts. And so they have to kind of make things kind of make sense, or else, some of us read lore like it's the Bible, pardon the expression. And, you start messing with it and folks are like, but that's not the way it's been this way for 8 years. And I remember one of our classic examples was Pyro 3, which was more designed to be like a Mustafar, right? A lava planet. And I remember when they showed it with all this green grass and stuff, and people were like, whoa, what happened to the planet? What happened to Mustafar? So it is interesting that, to your point, there are things that do change. And I think, Cap, you said it needs to be a living document. It should grow. It should be dynamic and be updated when necessary. Maybe even when things happen, battles, things like that. One of the things I do like on the Moby Glass now is that when you go to a certain location, it will tell you whether the location has refueling or whether you can repair your ship there and stuff. So I do like the fact that there's a small synopsis. But Admiral, to your point, I would also like it that if I wanted to know more about that station, I go to the Galactopedia and it gives me the breakdown. Maybe the breakdown says, here are the gangs that occupy that area, right? Or these are things in that area, that region for mining and salvage that often have. That makes me dig a little bit more. If I don't want to do it, that's fine. Like you said, Admiral, it's an option. But if I am curious enough to dig more, I find out that, man, the Galactopedia is actually valuable. It's not just some dusty book, but it's something that I can use whenever I want to go deeper. Or if I just want to click on that little icon on the map and it tells me that little short information, if that's all I need, that's all I need too. So yeah, I want to encourage you guys to check out the Galactopedia. It is getting updated. There's a search bar there. If there's something you want to look up, if it doesn't pop up, that means they haven't addressed it yet. But you might be amazed at how much stuff is actually fleshed out in relation to the persistent universe.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't the first page "Don't forget your towel"?
Is that what it says? Don't say that. Are you serious? Does it say that?
I don't know. You're gonna have to double check. You're gonna have to double check. Yeah, double check.
Are you serious?
I could be wrong. I'm probably wrong. I'm probably bullshitting you, but either way, it's.
I don't know. I don't know.
Make sure to put towel in there for everybody to remember your towel. So.
Well, I'm looking at it right now. And
Jade's like, absolutely not.
I know they've added something here that I didn't remember seeing. And maybe it's just because I never look at the first page. I usually just hit the search bar and start looking for stuff. But they actually have a trending thing on here now. And they've got 5 trending comments here. So the first trending is the Driller. The second is Warlord Korath Thal. The third thing is Tears of Fire. The fourth thing is Cabal 2. And the fifth thing is Squadron 42. So it's interesting to see that they put that there. And then they've got categories on the bottom that says in the news, things that were recently updated. There's a random article if you just want to see something random that's in the Galactopedia. And then they have an area that says what was recently viewed. So it is interesting that they have expanded on this a little bit more. And there are categories too. If you just want to know about commerce or spacecraft, if you want to know about the Xi'an or animals, you can click on categories and there's plenty of stuff there. Very, very, very informative. So check out the Galactopedia. That's what we want to encourage you guys to do. Check it out when you get some time, okay? All right. Next up, the sneak peek for this week. Some challenges require a more modular approach. Okay. So that's what we got popped up this week. CIG being cryptic as usual, and some people will say obvious as usual. Admiral, you're smiling, so give me your thoughts. What do you think the sneak peek for this week might be?
Well, you got the Mark 1 and the Mark 2 bidets. It improves any bathroom system and actually allows the Nomad to not have a composting toilet.
Is that to replace the bucket and the shiv? Is that what that's supposed to be?
That's definitely that's a different problem, but yeah. These could be the shield things, but not the shield, but the radar things.
Okay.
So we'll see if that turns into that. But they definitely have the ports in the back facing us. Those ports are identical. So they attach to some. That's a good point. If people want to look inside their ships and see if those connection points match up, you can probably find out what they are really quick.
That's interesting. Okay. Captain Jones, you got any thoughts on what you think that might be?
I'm hoping that they are components that are leading to a more modular Aurora Mark II, and instead of us having 5 versions of it, we'll be able to plug and play it a little bit with some pieces that we could change that are purpose built to change the function of that ship.
Interesting. Okay. Y'all want to hear my theory?
It's about bidets.
Those are jetpacks.
Jetpacks?
To replace, they said they're going to be taking the jetpacks off of the flight suits. If you look on that one on the left side, on the top of it, it looks like 2 straps or something magnetic that runs down the top of it. I think one's upside down and one was right side up. And it's got ports on the bottom, like they're vents or something, where the bottom part is. I could be totally wrong, y'all. Totally wrong. But it's got the hazard sign along the side of it. I'm wondering if they're jetpacks. I know. Aurora Mark II for sure. Lefty says, okay. Cyberwolf says they are not jetpacks, man. I don't know. The reason why
jetpacks would be cool. The marking on the floor makes it look like those are fairly large. So, but I could definitely.
Yeah,
I'm hoping we get jetpacks sooner or later.
Well, here's the thing, too. I've tried to look at those sizes and see what they fit in. Yeah, I know we're saying they're ship components, but which ones? There's no components that are shaped like that. I haven't found anything. Everything is pretty square, not rectangular, that's still open on ships. So I'm trying to figure out, and their design is different.
Have yet.
Well, yeah, that could be true. That could be true. All right, y'all, maybe I'm just smoking something. I don't know. I just thought like components. I don't know if that's like the new shield generators. I don't think it's the new shield generators. I mean, radar generators. Because the shapes are not right. I don't know.
I think they're probably specific to the Aurora, or at least that's what I'm hoping.
Why is everybody? I don't understand. Why the Aurora?
There's
Like,
there's a lot of conversation going around about the new roar having some form of modularity, and there's nothing wrong with that to a degree. If you remember back in the original Aurora commercial, the very original Aurora commercial, you were supposed to be able to swap out everything in that thing, swap out the chair, swap out the guns. So it was a whole bunch of modularity you're supposed to be able to do. Only thing you can do right now is swap out the guns. But you're supposed to be able to swap out everything in that thing. And there's been a lot of conversation about maybe the Aurora Mark II will be that first ship that moves toward where you can really do forms of modularity. I don't know. I've been hearing all types of conversation about it, but I just wanted something different. I just like, I want it to be something like the jetpacks.
Okay, so I feel like it's going to be part of a radar system. Captain Jones thinks it's part of the Aurora, and Griffin Gaming thinks it's going to be the Rocketeer. Just so we're all on the same page.
We're all on the same page, right?
I'm missing that little funny directional helmet, though.
Yeah. Well, Cap raises a point. He mentions about the ground, and I didn't look. I can't tell what that's sitting on, but I didn't look at that before. And there is a little marking down there, so maybe it is bigger than I'm thinking. But there's still a part of me that says those two black things on the left are going to strap on to you. I don't know. Maybe it's a new backpack. I don't know. I don't know. But it's just modules for the galaxy. Don't start, CC. Don't even start. Zeus mod. Listen, all these RSI. I don't know why you RSI people start talking all this trash. Y'all think y'all the only ones that's getting something.
There's definitely a BMM component.
Is that what it is? Cyberwolf says Griffin is wrong. He buys me a new Aurora. If I'm wrong, he buys me a new Aurora. Okay. The old lefty Javelin models. Let me talk about the Javelin coming in. Oh my God. All right. Well, we'll see. It's interesting. You know, I think everybody by default went to some form of modules, and that's okay. You know, if that's what you guys think it is. I just want something different. I don't want them more highlights on modules. All right. Let's hit one more PC. Oh, before we go there, since I suggested this idea of flight suits changing and that EVA units will be in some and some will not have EVA. How are you guys feeling about that? At least that's what CIG said.
I'm okay with it. I mean, there was a comment, I think it might have been Hobo or somebody else. It might have been somebody else. They mentioned that the racing suit's not going to have be able to do EVA, and not the way we do it now. And then I imagine this is some type of gas container for those things. So then, if you're heavy armor, like I don't know, it depends on. They're definitely going to make everything very, very. People are going to have to figure out their loadouts for what they want to do. That's really what it comes down to.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, there are obviously there's everything that they're going to do is have pro and con, right? If you've got a suit that has EVA, I don't know, to your point, Admiral, how those suits are powered or fueled or whatever the case may be. I'm sure at some point that's going to be a factor. And what are the benefits of wearing one that does not have EVA capability? Because obviously people are going to want to wear an EVA suit as much as possible unless there's a negative to it. And there's some positive to wearing one that doesn't. Cap, you got any thoughts on the EVA, non-EVA flight suits?
I think it's good to make the outfit or the armor that you're wearing purpose built. And they've already shown that they were going to have different types of armors, stealthy armor, tanky armor, scanning armor. So I think being able to EVA in certain types of outfits versus others fits right into that framework.
Okay. Very cool. Alrighty, we are winding down here to our last thing here, and it's just a very brief commentary. Some of you may have saw on social media this week that Brian Chambers posted a post saying that his brother had passed away. For those of you who've been around a long time, you guys know who Brian Chambers is. Brian has been with CIG for many, many years. He works out of the office in Germany. He has been in charge of the development of Squadron 42 for many, many years. We haven't seen him because I'm sure he has had his head buried deeply in that. But we want to extend from the Soul Citizens our deepest condolences and thoughts for him and his family losing a sibling. He just posted something very quietly the other day on social media, and I'm sure that's because there were people who knew his brother. But we just wanted to say that to him because Brian has been a friend to our community. He's come to the virtual bar citizens that we've held. We got an opportunity to meet Brian in 2023 when we were in Los Angeles. And for those of you who never get the opportunity to go to any events like a bar citizen or a citizen con, and we always encourage you that if you have the opportunity to go, while we were there, this was on the first night of the bar citizen night. That's Go Mob was with me and several other people, Space Tomato, whatever. But Brian came over and we talked with him for a few minutes. And one of the things that I will always tell you that I've never seen this not happen, CIG people will find time to talk with you, not just a hi, how are you, but they will talk with you. And this is the second time I met Brian. I met Brian with Old Lefty. Old Lefty's in the chat. In the chat. In Austin in 2018. That was the first time. Lefty, I still have that picture of me, you, and Brian, by the way. And I met him then. And then to meet him 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years later, or 5 years later, again in Los Angeles was really nice. And one of the memories I want to share about being able to talk with Brian was while we were at the there was a after party that they had at CIG's headquarters in Los Angeles. And I, myself, Serious Fun, I think Go Mob, I can't remember else. There was somebody else who was with us. We got some time just to sit and talk with Brian. And one of the things that Brian shared with us, which I know because he told us, I can tell you guys. Brian said, this was the year when they showed us was it base building? What was it, 2023? Was it the base building? Yeah, it was base building. And Brian said, you guys have no idea how much we want to tell you guys stuff and how much, how excited we are to tell you what it is we're working on. And, there's all this stuff that we know that we're doing and we read what you all say. And a lot of times you guys are on the head, you're on the mark. You may not think it's coming, but it's just that it's just not ready. But it's stuff that we are working on, and it's things that we do plan to do, but we have to be judicious about when we share that information. And he said, you don't know he kind of said like how much burden comes off of our shoulders when we're able to come to the con and finally tell you guys stuff, because we watch all year theories and things that people are talking about. And then when we finally able to show you, and then you guys get to say, oh, we see it or we get it. So they are very passionate about the work that they do. And they're just as excited about that work as we are. So just wanted to tell you that these are really good people. They're human beings that are doing a job who really believe in what they're doing. So again, Brian, to you and your family, we want to wish you guys our condolences. Admiral, Captain Jones, anything y'all want to say before we move on?
No,
Nope.
I mean, I just,
Passing on condolences as well.
Yeah, condolences.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Losing a loved one is, the closer you get to that connection, and holidays and stuff like that, for everybody in chat. I mean, it's just everybody knows what it's like to lose somebody. So, our condolences. And I think that goes for everybody watching the stream as well. So, yeah, take care of yourself, and and that's all I got to say. Cool.
All right, gang, we are going to take our commercial break, and then we're going to get ready to go into the second half of our show, where we're going to be talking about our topic this week is Capital Class, and we're going to tell you all about what that show is like when we come back. So stay tuned. This is going to be like a 1-minute commercial, 4-minute break, so 5 minutes total, and then we will be right back. So thank you for being here with us, and we'll see you in just a little bit. Hello. If you are watching us, that means you are one of our many, many supporters. And as always, each week we want to tell you thank you. I'm glad to be back. I was in Mexico for a week and a half, and I'm glad to be back with the Soul Citizens community. Special thank you to Admiral Kusanagi being here as our guest today. He's not a stranger to being here on the show, and we're excited to have him on board because the topic today is one of his favorites. So we're going to be talking about that. Captain Jones also, thank you for being here. Again, we want to remind you guys to follow us on social media, share social media with folks. We don't always talk about our social media that much, but definitely tweet, send out stuff. Don't forget about our page with materials and t-shirts and mugs and all that other stuff. I know some of you guys have already bought that stuff, but thank you as always for the support that you guys give to the Soul Citizens. We could not do this thing without you. So we'll be right back in about 4 minutes. See you soon.
On and on across the stars we fly, soul citizens, bringing us that endless sky. We each build up what we want to be, but together we're making history. On and on, on and on, on and on, on and on. Bringing us that endless sky. We each build up what we want to be, but together we're making history. On and on, on and on, on and on. And all across the endless night, our soul citizens burn ever bright. And all across the endless night, our soul citizens burn ever bright. On and on across the stars we fly, soul citizens, bringing us that endless sky. We each build up what we want to be, but together we're making history. On and on, on and on, on and on, on and on. Our soul citizens, bringing us that endless sky. We each build up what we want to be, but together we're making history. On and on, on and on, on and on. And all across the endless night, our soul citizens burn ever bright. And all across the endless night, our soul citizens burn ever bright.
Abdi Johan, Captain Jones, Fast Card FC, Gomab ATL, Griffin Gaming RPG, Jade Star Watcher, Karate, Colossal, Serious Fun, Summer Geo, Unique, Yo-Yo Man!
Hello, hello, greetings, greetings. I am Griffin Gaming RPG, and welcome to the Soul Citizens. Today is Sunday, March the 22nd, and I am joined today by two members of the Soul team. Introducing first off my co-host, Captain Jones. How are you?
Great as always. Welcome all my soul friends.
Ready for part two, Cap?
Part 2, let's go.
All right, all right. And also joining us, another member of our Soul team, one of our moderators for the Soul Citizens, Admiral Kusanagi, who's no stranger to us. Admiral, how are you?
Good evening, everybody. I'm well, thank you very much.
You guys are set? You ready from your break? Got something to drink? You ready to hit this topic full steam? Pardon the expression, full steam ahead. Yeah.
Well, I'm not really interested in this topic, Griff. But I
know. I know you have no interest at all in this one.
None.
So we've been going back over the years. As you guys know, this is our 6th year of doing these shows, and we've done a variety of shows talking about the different ships, the manufacturers, classes, all that stuff over the years. And of course, over the years, more ships have been added to the list. We even did a series back in the day called Industrial Strength, where we went through all of the big industrial ships. But we have not recently talked about ships that have been brought into the game that we would fall into the area, for some people, capital class. And I want to be really clear about this expression of capital class. We're just talking about the larger ships that are in the game. CIG we have yet to completely understand and completely figure out what falls into capital category in this game. There are some ships that started out, for example, a ship like the Banu Merchantman that started out originally as a much smaller ship. It was a blockade runner. And then over time it grew, got bigger, and then it became this massive ship that it has become today. And it's not the first ship that has done that. There have been many of them that have expanded, grown, the role has changed. And one of the things, for example, for a period of time, ships were considered capital, sometimes based upon the components that they were using. Then there were some of them because of the designation of what the ship may have been called. If it was called a destroyer, if it was called a frigate. There are some ships that are civilian-oriented ships, like, for example, the 890 Jump. That was considered as being a capital class ship. So we're not going to get too hung up on that right now. We're going to start with some of the smaller, for lack of a better term, smaller big ships and work our way up to ships that we know fall into the category of capital class. And then when we get to the end, Admiral Kusanagi has a background in the military, in the Navy in particular. And we're just going to ask him, if he were to classify these ships, where would he land them? Where would they fall into a list? And mind you, CIG is using, we're used to using naval terms today, and those can be different even for some different groups, but it'll just give us some type of idea of where these ships are. And CIG has several times talked about recategorizing and classifying ships, so I don't know how much that's happened or will happen anymore. But we'll get to that when we get to it. But in the meantime, we're going to start out with some small stuff, work our way up. And I'm going to call some of these subcapital, okay? They may not be subcapital, so don't try to hold me to the fire because I call it a subcapital and it's not, okay? We're just trying to look at some of the larger scale ships. We want to talk about their practicality in the universe. And we also want to talk about, do we think that the numbers that we see in relation to these ships are realistic, particularly when it comes to manning these ships and crewing these ships. So let me start out with the first one, which is real easy. And that's going to be Perseus. Admiral, I know you own a Perseus. Cap, I don't know if you own one. Do you own one, Cap?
I mean, it's RSI, so you got your answer.
Oh, God.
I don't know.
Oh, God. Okay. You and serious fun. Okay. Admiral, I know you were very excited about the Perseus. Looking forward to it.
I don't know what that means. Does Captain Jones have one or not?
He's an RSI fan. He and Sirius. If it's RSI, they got it. So that just automatically he's got one. Okay, yeah, he's got one. Yeah,
so everybody knows. Okay, everybody tracking now. Everybody tracking.
Let me ask you this, Admiral. I know, like I said, you were anticipating this ship for quite a while. I remember when the Perseus came out, I was actually turned off by it because the price point was so close to the Polaris at the time. I didn't know if the value was there. I think it was, how much did this thing go for? Do you remember what the original price was? Does anybody remember what the original Perseus price was? Because it wasn't cheap.
It's like 675,
675,
something like that.
600 war bond.
Was it?
Yeah, 600 war bond.
That's
Yeah,
it.
and the Polaris was like freaking 7 or 750. It was like, it was kind of close, you know. But anyway, Admiral, your thoughts on the Perseus first off.
Well, I thought it was great. And the funny thing is, I saw the Polaris and I was like, I am not paying. I just automatically looked at that and was like, those torpedoes are going to cost a fortune, and I'm
Yeah.
not paying to replace those torpedoes. And
Uh-huh.
and then like a year later goes by, and that they like whatever it was in the Perseus, I was like, oh my god, this is the ship I wanted. Like when the Polaris came out. So
Right.
so yeah, I thought it was great. Uh, yeah, I think even though I was okay with the size 7 guns on top too, in the bottom. I just thought it was a really cool kind of heavy gunboat, and that's all
Okay.
I really wanted. So
Okay.
CIG did increase it to a frigate on their
Mhm.
webpage after the sale, and then they brought it back down. So I mean, I can get into that later, but that was kind of an interesting. We'll see what they do with it, because I really
Yeah.
think they might change the its position in the future.
Mhm.
We'll see.
But right now, I think you told me it's classified back as a heavy gunship. Is that right?
I think it's a heavy gunboat, yeah,
Heavy gunboat. Okay. All right.
or ship or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah. Captain Jones, how about you? Your thoughts about the Perseus?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, partly because it's RSI, but partly because it's new. And as Big makes newer and newer ships, you can really tell that their skill in the shipbuilding has just come top notch to attention to detail and the functionality ships that are coming out now versus what came out, years ago. It's a big
Mhm.
difference. And with the RSI Perseus, not only do you get things that we all expected, the big guns, the big pew pews, but there's fancy little surprises in there, like the basketball court, the holographic basketball court.
Mhm.
I see that they've reeled in the crew a little bit as well, because if you look at the larger ships from the past, the crew numbers were significantly larger than some of the ships are coming out now. So all
Mhm.
around a banger. I love it.
Okay. Now you went where I was going to go next. If for you guys to decipher what I have on the screen there, you see Perseus and then you see 1/7. And that's because when you look at the specifications, it says minimum crew 1, maximum crew of 7. Now, I'm going to always assume when I see minimum crew of 1, that means that you can get in and fly it. And that's it. As far as I'm concerned, that's all it means. I really want to deal with that second number with Captain Jones and Admiral Kusanagi because they have these ships. And the question is, do you think that the max number is realistic, too much, or too little when it comes to these ships? Admiral, I'm going to come back to you with the Perseus. How do you feel about that max number crew of 7? Or do you think
That's
that
the game.
7
Okay.
is maybe 5 is doable? Or would you say 5 is normal operation, 7 if you're going into battle, or 7 all the time? Or you think it's more?
Me or Captain Jones?
It's you. You first.
No, I think it makes sense, because you have to have these positions maintained. You have to have an engineer. You might want 2 engineers or someone that can back up the engineer.
Mm-hmm.
You need people to be, if you've got spare torpedoes, you have to be able to load them in. I think people are looking at it like, and this is the problem we have, is that we've been playing this game with these short conflicts where we haven't been putting down a lot of rounds downrange.
Mm-hmm.
We know that, with ballistics, like with these cannons and stuff like that, we're like, even just take the Spartan, like we know that it comes with like Gatling guns. We know we're going to be able to re-upload ammo into that system from the internal storage or something like that. And the same is going to be for the Perseus and the other ships. So with armor coming in, these battles are going to get longer. I mean, I've been playing just this weekend, and I'm like, man, these things are taking like a lot longer than I remember them taking.
Mm-hmm.
And that's even before the armor comes into the next patch of 4.7.
Mm-hmm.
So I think having people able to kind of reload the magazine bays to move stuff around, it makes a lot of sense. And to repair components, when they're damaged. One thing I did this past weekend in was it my Perseus? In the Paladin was after each mission, I went outside with the repair tool and repaired all the guns. Each mission, and it was like we would be dead. My hull was down to 50% in the Paladin, even though it didn't show damage, and all the guns were like 100% because I kept going outside and repairing them. So I think maintenance on these ships, especially the bigger ones, is going to get really, really key. So having you can try to one man this thing, and people think they can AI turret everything. That's going to be a pain in the ass once you start doing this stuff by yourself. It really is. I think 7. You might get away with 5.
5 to 7.
Doable, but like I think 7 is like a really, really smooth ship to deal with.
So how many positions? I'm not familiar with the cockpit layout on this thing. Is 3 right in the cockpit? Is that correct? If I remember, there's 1 in the center and 2 on the sides.
Yeah, I remember there being 3 in the cockpit.
3 there.
Guns,
the engineering station downstairs.
Engineering, and then the turret, not the turret, the torpedo bay area. I guess that person could, help to reload it after the fact. If I remember correctly, I thought like 8 was actually the number I was going for with that ship because I wanted that to be separate.
Yeah.
But there's only so many crew quarters. So I think, I would probably go with 7. If that's the max, I'd go with 7.
Because based on your count, I'm counting 5 minimum, in the sense of 3 in the cockpit, 1 engineer, 1 in the torpedo bay. Is there a man turret on this ship, or is it automated?
Yeah, there's 2 man turrets. You get 1 on the top, 1 on the bottom.
There's 2 man turrets.
Those are the size 8s, and so yeah.
Okay, so that's 7 people. Okay. That's 7 people. What do you think, Captain Jones? Your thoughts on the complement of 7?
I think when it comes to ships now, at least modern ships, they at max numbers, depending on a couple of things. One being that ships actually have life support now, so I think they're factoring in how many people it can sustain long term, and then also living quarters, which based off of what Sig said recently, I'm not sure that even matters anymore. If you look at a ship like the Perseus, even though it does say 7, when you look at the functions of all 7 people as the game lays right now, you definitely don't need 7. Though you're going to have 3 people probably running around with nothing to do. That 1 is the pilot. You really don't need the co-pilot or the other co-pilot seats filled in. You definitely need those man turrets filled in because they're both man turrets, and that's where the meat and potatoes of your DPS are coming from. And then you still want somebody to be able to roam around, do the repairs, do the maintenance like Kusanagi was talking about, and somebody officially being a engineer. So it does say 7, and you could put 7 people in there, but you're going to have probably 2 to 3 people board.
Okay. So let me ask you a question, because you did preempt this by saying based on how the game is now. And you mentioned about the beds and stuff, for example. We don't know what CIG's complete intention is, but we do know that CIG has talked about positions on a ship, permissions at different locations, and positions being relevant, having some meaning. So let's say, for example, you're piloting the ship, and I know there's some people who do not like to hear this when I say it, but what happens if piloting the ship is just about piloting the ship, and maybe your co-pilot now has to manage some aspect of it at least, and the other person has to manage some aspect of the ship that way? Does that increase that at that point for you? I mean, do you think the CIG should kind of create that space?
And I'm hoping it will. Co-pilot could have additional duties. Right now the pilot is kind of a jack of all trades.
Right.
In most ships, even the bigger ships, they're flying, they're navigating, they're shooting. They're managing power systems. They're putting more to the rear shields. They're doing all of that. Where in a true battle in the future, you want people focusing on that, even to the level of, they say 7 right now, and there's a couple of people board, but those are ballistic cannons, very large ballistic cannons. Sooner or later, those ballistics are running out. So who's going to be the person reloading those size 8 cannons? It can't be the pilot. Can't be the co-pilot. You don't want your engineer leaving the engineering station, and it can't be the people in the turrets firing the guns. So in the future, once they start fleshing out more roles and more things to do, I could see you filling it up to that 7, maybe even more, depending on how your ship loadout works, but
Yeah.
in today's gameplay, you will have some people pretty bored.
Bored. Yeah, that makes sense. Danger Hobo, don't worry. I just saw it. I didn't see it when it went by earlier. Sorry, but yes, I saw it. Thank you. But you're lying about the football. I saw it. The one thing I was going to ask you guys about I'm also asking you guys for another number, and that number is going to be, what's the number if nothing happens? What's the number if something happens? If that makes sense, right? Because somebody put in chat, what happens if you get a fire breaking out, right? Or you're in battle and a fire breaks out? Do you feel that those max numbers become realistic then? If you're just moving from one location to another, maybe no big deal, right? How do you guys feel about it then? Do you think that they should be at max number anyway? Or do you think, let's just see how we can, if we can handle it?
As it is right now, min number 2. Need somebody to fly, need somebody to shoot the big guns.
Okay.
And then if something's going wrong, you would like to have somebody in all the big guns and somebody to put out the fires. You need your engineer to go out, do repairs, put out the fires, things like that. So you're looking at 4. 4 is a great number for the ship in today's gameplay, but I can see it moving up to 7 once they do bring in those additional features.
The other things. Okay, cool. All right, let's hit the next one. This is a ship that is all theory, right? We just have pictures and we've got some descriptions, but it is considered, I don't know, it's interesting about this ship. There are some people who are still, and I understand why people say it, it's like, how is this going to work in the universe? It is a mine layer in 3D space, and there's questions about it. It sounds cool, but is the practicality there for something like that? I think the CIG is going to have something in mind for it. I think there are some scenarios where a ship like this would be important. Some of you maybe have never even heard of this ship or not familiar with it, but the Nautilus. Cap, I'll come to you first this time on this one. The Nautilus has a minimum crew of 4 and a max crew of 8. And I know this one's difficult because we have not been in this ship. We haven't seen the layout on this ship. But there are going to be some people obviously doing some work on this ship with mine laying, because mine laying isn't just mine laying. There's mine retrieval. There's all types of other stuff that's supposed to happen with this ship. What do you think about the Nautilus?
Looking at the minimum number.
Of minimum 4. Number 4. Yeah, max number of 8. And the ship is 125
it makes
meters.
Sense.
Yeah.
Assuming that the mine deploying or rearming or even gathering up the mines is going to be a station onto its own, kind of like having to shoot torpedoes on a Polaris. That's one person right there. And then you've got someone's got to man the guns. That's a couple of people there. You need a pilot. You need an engineer. At very minimum, I can see 4. And then once they give us more idea of what the ship's going to do, especially if it wants to fruition of some of the aircrafting we have, what it can do, I could definitely see it needing way more crew, at least to be effective. And I think that's the indicator that a lot of people miss out on when they're looking at ships. Min-max, it's not about, can I fly it with 2 people, but can I be effective with 2 people? So effective with 4 people I could see in today's game, but once the ship comes out, I can see that needing several engineers, someone manning the drones specifically for the the mines that is dropping out. Yeah, that number could grow.
Okay. Admiral, Nautilus.
Yeah, I'm gonna say 4. I mean, I'm looking at the 3D model, and it's just, you've got. I mean, they say it's got, like, get the size 7, the size 3s. There's 2 sets of size 3s. Maybe even more. It's like 2x2 size 3, and then 1x2 size 3, and then it looks like there's I was looking at this earlier today, and it looks like there's a giant missile turret on the back of it. So I'm not really sure what that's all about. But that's at least pilot. I'm assuming because CIG is CIG, they won't have the pilot control the main turret in the front of the ship. So it's probably need one person for that. Hopefully I'm wrong, but it's a funny thing because when you're the captain of the ship, you kind of, some people want to do this like the Starfarer has that center ship, and you just like the one further back, that's the captain's chair, and then you have the pilot, and then the co-pilot and so forth. Same with the Idris, and I kind of feel like that's and then people buy these ships and they want to pilot and have control over the weaponry. So it's kind of damn if you do, damn if you don't. But I think 4 is probably safe to go out and do stuff with. And then the actual ship itself is kind of they need to figure out the mines how they're going to do that.
Yeah. I worry about ships like this because I mean, every ship is like this for me. Every ship for me is like, what's the cost of loss, right? Like I was an Eve player. And there were things that I would do by myself without getting escorts, but I always would have to factor in what is the cost of if this does not go well for me. And in Eve, it was a matter of it would take me more time to do something if I was worried about the cost of something. And I agree with you, Cap. There's this aspect of saying, well, what do players do when nothing happens? It's kind of like the same thing when you have escorts, right? You pay for escorts, but nothing happens. But my other question becomes, what happens when something does happen? And if you lose a subcapital or capital class ship, because you didn't have 2 extra people, right? Or if a fire gets out of control because you didn't have 2 extra people, and it depends. If you're going into a safe space or a place where there's minimal risk, you may decide not to take those 2 people. But I'm always just curious to see I'm not saying whether you should or shouldn't. I'm saying I'm just always thinking about things like that is what happens if I lose this ship? What happens if I lose all the upgraded components I had on it? How long does it take me to get that stuff back? What does it mean in relation to my insurance? All those factors, which we don't have, right? Later on will be, I think, factors that people will think about when it comes to these larger ships, because there is a time factor for both either repair or replacement. And we don't even know what those numbers are going to be like. But Captain Jones, I think you sent me, how long did you say the Idris was the other day? You sent me the thing on that. What was it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, if you don't expedite it, it's going to take you over 3 hours.
3 hours expediting on an Idris right now, and that's going to increase, So
hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully, right? Okay. Here we go. Next step. These are, by the way, going up based on size, folks, not category or anything else. We're at 160 meters in length on this one. A ship that's been, I guess this is the new Gib ship, I think, for a lot of people, is the Banu Merchantman. And here we've got a minimum crew of 4, maximum crew of 8. And as these ships get bigger, these numbers aren't increasing, which is interesting to me too, that this is 4 and 8 still on a fairly massive ship. Admiral, come to you on this one. Thoughts?
Well, I do have the Darkwing Duck, and I do.
Okay.
We're looking forward to fight crime in it as well. If you don't know what I'm talking about, look at Darkwing Duck's flying ship, and it's an identical match. I just think this one is so far. I don't know, because it's like there's so much unknown about it, like what the positions are, what you would need for everything. That I mean, I'm just going to go off of like the stuff that's around that size, and I think that, like you said, this is going to get massive. In terms of I remember the video we saw, and it was using that one video where it was in the background and they showed it, and the guy was buying stuff at some market place.
Yeah, in Pyro. Yeah,
absolutely,
Jax.
like huge, and I don't think anybody was kind of, yeah. It's just a giant. I just have no idea. Because it's an alien, it just could be well made, and you can maybe run it with 4 people. It would be interesting to see if they had like a way to fight fires, a little bit easier on an alien ship.
Fire suppression system.
Being so advanced and futuristic, because it's alien, they might, be good to help out a little bit somewhere.
Yeah.
But that's all I really have is just wait to see in that one.
Yeah. Captain Jones, I don't know if you remember that video the Admiral's talking about. It was one of the Jax videos when he's in Pyro, when he's trying to buy the alien engines, and they show the Banu Merchantman in the background. And it was big. It's because a Defender flies by it. You can see how big this thing is. Your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think when it comes to the numbers that we have listed there, to kind of just drew something at the wall, because there's not enough known about the functionality of the ship to come up with competent numbers. I believe the ship currently is over 200 meters in its latest iteration. So
Mhm.
even if we think about, somebody's manning guns and somebody's piloting and somebody's engineering, I just can't see you effectively. If we go back to when something goes wrong,
Mhm.
effectively running with just 4 people, just by on the sheer size. I mean,
Mhm.
unless you're Usain Bolt, how are you going to get from the front of the ship where you're maybe manning a store at the moment to the back of the ship where there was a fire? And then, we know that it has a hangar for the defender. Who's going to fly that when you
Mhm.
come under attack? So I don't see, to go back to being effective, I don't see 4 being an effective for
Mhm.
this ship.
Mhm.
But if you just want to, fly it around, sure. If you want to reach full potential, I think you're going to need much more.
More than that. Okay. By the way, I have to put in there's one ship I completely forgot. I know some of y'all gonna be mad because I forgot it. The Kraken is not on this list, and it's just because I forgot it. So I meant to this morning. I thought about it, and I'm like, okay, I've laid the show out. I can't put it in here now because I was gone all day. But
You can throw it in there. I don't care. Throw it in there.
all right, well, if we have time at the end, that we can talk about it. Okay, we'll
Okay,
we'll,
throw it in
we'll talk
there.
about
Yeah.
it. Just don't let me forget. Don't let me forget.
Okay.
Okay.
Hey, Griff, just to remind you, don't forget.
Don't forget.
Next time.
Okay. And now some of these ships, it's easier for us to talk about those ships that are in game versus those ones that are still out there and to be built. And I do want to ask Admiral and Cap, when it comes to these ships, I want to, at the end, you tell me which of these ships do you think is coming, not soon, but probably in line, because there's some ships that we think will not be here till the very end. But I am curious as to if you think there's any ships that you think CIG may be producing within the next few years. Next one up, the Polaris. This one is in game. I know, Cap, I know you've got one. Admiral, I can't remember if you've got one or you had one because you had the Perseus, or you didn't have one. Did you have one, Admiral? A Polaris?
No. You see, you got to listen to me, Griff.
I know you said that you were waiting on that. You didn't want. No, I mean I didn't know if they gave you the Polaris
as a
because you had a
loaner?
Perseus. Yeah, as a loaner.
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe they did. I just
Oh, you didn't
yeah.
even worry about it. Okay.
I didn't even know.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. All right, Mr. RSI, let's talk about it. 6 for a minimum, 12 for a maximum. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so the numbers make sense because the Polaris is a ship, way it's laid out and way its DPS is laid out, meaning its main threat is torpedoes. It's one of those ships that the pilot really can't do anything. Sure, they can maybe shoot some missiles, but it's size 6 guns. You need somebody in that. You need somebody in the turrets to cover the top and the sides. You need an engineering. The engineering wing is amazing. You need somebody there just to stand in awe, look at how great it looks. and then you still need somebody to fly. And that's assuming that you don't want to shoot torpedoes, and if you do, you need another person for that. So we're talking about being effective. Polaris, if you in actual combat, you do need to have all those stations manned. They really can't do much with just a pilot and one other person running around.
Now, ships like this, I'm asking both of you guys this. Ships like this in the Perseus, once that auto loading is done, you technically are supposed to manually reload it, right? With a tractor beam? Is that the current way it's done?
If you're talking about the torps, you can. Yes, you can.
Yeah, the torps.
Pull some out of your. Yeah, you can pull some out of your cargo and come back into the torpedo hopper, but it's a little buggy. So generally, if you're out of torpedoes, you probably already lost the fight anyway. So might as well just leave.
Okay. And what are the operational costs on a ship like this? Because this is when you're getting to size, what, 10s, 12s? What's torp size on these?
These are size 10s.
10s? What are you guys looking at for cost on these things currently?
I think the last cost I had for the torps was about $600K.
For how many? For how many?
Oh, for one. So if you go back to what Admiral was saying earlier, for the reason why he wasn't going to get a Polaris, that has to do with a lot of it. So if you're going to shoot all 20 plus of your torps and knowing that it's going to cost you $500,000 each to replace those, you're going to run out of money really quick.
So let me ask you guys another question in relation to this ship, Admiral, since you were looking at the cost effectiveness of this. How do you think players will respond when we start respawning ships and they don't come with ammo?
I think the market for building your own ammunition is going to go pretty high. It's going to drive that sector, whether it be they buy it from someone else or they make it themselves. Which, again, it's just very cost prohibitive. When they sold the ship, I actually looked at like Navy submarines and did like a cost analysis on what like an average torpedo costs based off of what the sub costs, even though that's in the billions of dollars. And I was like, this thing's going to cost at least $200,000 a pop, and it sounds like it's way over that right now. So that's why I didn't do it. But it's a strong ship. It's got a lot of turrets on it. It's got a big cannon in the front. It's probably comparable to at least a Perseus, if not more, even without the torpedoes. So it could probably be able to stay in the fight, I think, just based off of how many weapons it has compared to how many weapons the Perseus has at full capacity.
How many torps does this thing carry? Do you guys remember off the top of your head?
Is it 20, I think?
28.
Is it 28?
Holy smoke. At 600,000 a pop?
28 torpedoes, and then hopefully you don't use all 28, because if not, you might as well just buy a whole nother ship.
What's the ship cost? Wait till the ship costs go up,
it's free. It's just a claim button.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Right now, that's what I'm saying. Do you think, let me ask you that. Do you think that they will make this where, Chooch, thank you so much for the bits, the 500 bits. We appreciate that. And Mukul, thank you for the 5 community subs. I'm sorry I didn't see that earlier when it popped up. And Thrakazogs, I did see you when you popped up. I'm sorry. Thank you again for your resub for 51 months. We appreciate you guys. I mean, do you guys think that should be a part of the claim? Because, CIG's got this whole thing with insurance and blah, 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 blah. Do you think you should get your ship back with no missiles, no torps, no ammo when you have to file a claim?
Yeah, I think it should be almost lighter, so you can file a claim and it can come empty and you get as is. And if you want to have it fully loaded with the big bad torpedoes, and you pay more for that claim.
You pay for it. Yeah, because Admiral's point about if they bring in munitions being created by players, that does create an economic engine, right? If players can produce those and sell you that torp instead of for 600,000, but they tell you, I'll sell you 10 for, whatever the number is, that could be an interesting way of looking at it. I'm also thinking about when your ship is damaged, are you going to salvage that stuff? In other words, are you going to find a way to pull those torps off that you didn't use, right, before you do your claim? Because you may have millions of dollars worth of torpedoes on that ship, even though the ship is dead.
Plus components. If you've
and components. And components. Yeah. Especially if they're found components, right? Stuff that you found out in the verse that's really, really good. I mean, the whole salvaging prospect of your ship might be entirely different to save you money in the long run, because these ships components, and you can't pull these. I mean, you can't pull these on these capitals components. You're stuck.
Didn't they say? Remind me. I know the big ships were talking like if you, because of how say supply and demand, there might not be enough X to be able to rebuild an Idris or something like that, where it actually might behoove you to take your engines from your old Idris to bring them to the shipyard to kind of attach to the Idris to get it going or something like that. Remember that?
Yeah.
So I mean, you definitely probably want to bring your own salvage crew to this thing and be like, hey, we got to just chop it up.
Take whatever, take what's usable.
Take what you can get, and then especially the hull materials alone are very valuable. So I would do that.
It'll be interesting to see for sure. All right, here's another one that we don't have in the game, but a lot of people anticipate, the Orion. We're getting pretty large on these ship scales. 170 meters. The Orion has a complement of 4 to 7. If you're not familiar with the ship, I can talk about it because this is one of the ships that I own and I'm crazy about. You guys have anything in relation to the Orion? I think this is on Admiral this time.
I imagine. See, I'm not sure. Does that encompass like the turrets? I think it only has a couple turrets, right? So you got the pilot.
I'm actually looking it up as we speak because I have completely forgotten the weapon complement thing on this thing. But I can tell you in 2 seconds here. The weapons complement on this is 1 to 5 turrets. And yeah, 5 turrets on it. 6 turrets. Looks like.
I see
to
one
be
size
determined.
2 and one size 2, size 5. Does that mean there's 6?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the wrong thing here. Hold on.
Sometimes I can't read.
Okay, yeah. Okay, this is a different page. Okay, I'm looking at the new thing here. Size 2 to be determined, and then the size 5.
So it's 1 by 2. So it's 1 size 2, and then 1 by 2 size 5.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's what we're reading correctly here on under the ship spec.
That's what I get.
Mm-hmm.
So it only has.
And it says to be determined. It says to be determined. Yeah,
it's definitely going to change, but this is like the whole thing where
I can tell you,
I'm not going to get upset because an Orion showed up. Oh, this capital Orion ship showed up. Oh my God, we're doomed.
Yeah, I can tell you that there are 5 stations. Now, this is based upon the way the mining was structured way back when, y'all. It could definitely change. There were 5 or 6 stations just for mining on this ship. There's a pilot. There's a person who's supposed to be measuring seismic activity. There's an analyzer. There are 2 people operating lasers, and then there's the refinery. That's just to operate the mining aspects of this ship. Plus, this ship does drones, which is another aspect, if I'm not mistaken. I think it does drones. So there's a lot to this as far as just mining operations alone, let alone anything else that would take place on this ship. Captain Jones, any thoughts on the Orion?
Yeah, based on how large that ship has grown to and then the functionality it's supposed to have, I can't see going back to being effective because this is one ship that's not built for combat. So our previous discussions was about how many people were mining turrets and so forth, but it's the fact that if you look at some of the smaller mining ships, like the Mole, how many people you need to be effective with that. Really can't see you running Orion effectively with 4 people. You've got somebody piloting, you've got somebody manning the refinery, you got somebody pulling the inventory after scooping it up, you got engineers. You're just going to need a full complement of crew constantly in attention, and that's assuming something doesn't blow up or catch on fire.
Yeah. A lot of people look at the Orion as being like a heavy, deep space, mining ship, right? So it's a mining platform. I think a category is heavy mining. And this is not a ship that you just take out for a couple hours and do some mining with. This is designed to, kind of like be out in deep space. And it's just churning away. It's constantly working like 24 hours, but it's just running all the time. And that you would offload materials from this. You'd have cargo ships come to the location where you're mining. And this thing kind of stays out in space and just works, right? This is like the 5th level of, was it Prospector, Mole? Well, you got South. What's the other one called? What's the other one, Admiral, that you have? The Misk. What's the Misk mining ship called? Fortune.
Oh, the Fortune.
Yeah. So the Fortune, Prospector. Then you got the Mole. Then you got the Arastra, and then you get to the Orion, right? And this is
got to Drake. Unfortunately.
What's the Drake one? Oh, the what's it called?
Golem.
God, got it. 6 mining ships. Oh my God. So this is like capital class. CIG considers
there's still room. There's still room between your Astra and this thing, because this thing is just like
gargantuan.
Like Battlestar Galactica to do mining.
Yeah. This is gargantuan. Okay, absolutely. Who was that? Senor Mukul. I said thank you, and I know you said no problem. And there's somebody else who just sent something. I'm sorry, I missed who it was. It just popped up a second ago. But thank you, whoever that was. I heard the chime, but I missed the name. Okay, next up.
Fortune is a
Misk.
salvager. Sure.
Misk Endeavor.
Prospect.
This ship is one of those ships that folks in the community have pretty much written off, not in a bad way. They're like, that'll be the last one we get. That's kind of the general feeling about the Endeavor. And the reason why they say that is not that it's about building the ship. It's about the fact that this ship encompasses a majority of various styles of gameplay. And until those areas of gameplay have been built in, it just kind of wouldn't make sense to put this ship into the game. Some of those areas are biology. Some of those areas are research, science. Some of it is in relation to medical. There's a full-size hospital on this thing. There's a variety of different areas. Some we've only begun to flesh out. Some they haven't touched on at all. And of course, there's an exploration side of it as well. Captain Jones, come to you on this one. This is a big ship, 200 meters in length, made by Misk, and the minimum crew is 3 and maximum crew is 5. And this is with a ship that's gotten even bigger than the ones we've looked at before. You got some thoughts on it?
Yeah, my guess is they're basing the crew size that we see there off of the Explorer modules in the front. So some people may not know that the very front of that ship is a ship in itself. It kind of comes off
Right.
parts to be an Explorer, kind of, Enterprise style from Star Trek. So you're going to need people manning that Explorer portion of it, piloting, engineering, and all of that. Can't possibly be having an Endeavor that is fully kitted out with all the different module options that it has, and being able to effectively run with 3 to 5 people. Because who's going to be, like in that picture, there's agricultural modules. Who's going to be in each one of those domes? Who's going to be running the engineering? With a ship like that, yeah, you're going to need a lot more people. I see it more of a mobile space station than a ship based off the capabilities. It has modules such as the Hope module that I think has like 50 medical beds in that module. Yeah. 3 to 5 people, I just don't see it. If you compare some of the other ships we looked at that required 4 or 7 people or 4 or 8 people, and then you look at this ship that's probably going to be 300-meter ship with modules galore, I just don't see you effectively running it with 3 to 5 people, unless that is speaking just to the exploration portion of it.
Admiral, I'm kind of feeling, to ask you this, I'm kind of feeling like that 3 to 5 number is just for the Endeavor, the pilot command module, right? Most Misk ships have had, you mentioned this earlier about the configuration of the 3 seats in the front. I'm just kind of seeing like those 3 seats plus maybe 2 other, like an engineer and somebody else that just handles the Endeavor part, not the modules, not all the other stuff. Those numbers can change. The hospital may need 8 people. The hangar may need 2. The biomes may need 3. You know what I mean? Is that kind of like probably the flexibility that you would have with a crew on a ship like this?
Yeah, I'd have to agree with what Captain Jones was saying, that I kind of think it's like probably the whole length of it, because the center of that ship, the base without any modules is probably, or attachments, it's probably just one giant like walkway in the center, and pipes and stuff like that, and then you get to the back with the engineering part, and maybe a turret back there. And they can flesh that out a little bit more to have more security. I think if I remember correctly, there is one of the packets that you could buy was an additional like weapon pack. I don't remember the name of it. I have to look it up. But I remember there being like you could up arm it, so to speak. But I think as is, that would make sense. And then again, like Captain Jones says, like the hospital variants and like, why would you stop farming if you're just traveling around? You have the appropriate people watching the ship and flying it, but then doesn't mean you have to stop doing the work that's actually being done in the ship, whether it be the hospital ship, the doctors or nurses doing that, helping people out and bringing in letting the other ships come in and dock in the landing bay. For those who haven't seen Star Jump Grimm's revised Endeavor, it's greatly expanded because the size of, like, I guess the old Drakes didn't make sense for the new size of the Drakes, the Cutlass Red. So he actually made, like, the hangar bays much bigger, and of course that questions like how big the hospital area may get. So yeah, I think that's a pretty good uh, bet that this is going to get, number one, bigger, and at least the 5 is probably minimum for to fly this as is without having anything on it. That's what I'm going with.
Okay. Fastcard says that the 3 to 5 number was the 2015 numbers, and I agree with you, Fastcard, but it's also the 2026 numbers because that's what's on the website. They haven't changed those numbers, and so a lot of times with CIG, it's like that's what the numbers are until they tell you otherwise. And I do lend myself to thinking that because the ship is modular in the sense of the command part of the ship being separate, I just think that 3 to 5 number matches that, and everything else is just you put in however many people you need to man. Because like Captain Jones was saying, the hospital section alone is huge. The hangar, fairly large. Not yet that people manning it, but still, I think the numbers for your complement will be based upon your configuration. And by the way, I think Jade said this earlier. A lot of times people think that you'll be able to attach all the modules to this ship. It doesn't work that way. There's only 2 sections that you can connect modules to, so you can have the ship be more like a medical hospital, or you could have it more like a research station. You can kind of configure it how you want. But there are like 9 or 10 different modules. I forget if it's 10. It might be 10 because of the 2 domes. But I know there's at least 9 different modules and about 4 or 5 different configurations that you can have for this ship. So that is the Endeavor. We're going up in scale here. The 890 Jump Origin. This one is length of 205 meters. I remember when this ship first came out. Well, let me say this too. The minimum crew for this is 3, and they're saying a maximum crew of 8. I remember when this ship first came out, and people still do, are happy to jump into their 890 by themselves and fly it. But that is also based around the fact that absolutely nothing goes wrong when you're flying the ship. This is an older ship. Because the ships that we're talking about now don't have component modularity. Once you start getting into these larger ships, there's size 3 components and above. And so those are not components that you can take out, right? You have to repair them, and that's about all you can do. Or you've got to take them into a dry dock or, a shipyard in order to do anything to them. We don't know what the future of that's going to look like in the sense of damaged components. I'm kind of thinking it's going to be shipyard related stuff, or a crucible, some ship that can deal with those components. But because the components are so large, you can't even get them through doors. And so there are going to be some ships. We'll have to see how the repair or maintenance on those are going to take place. Admiral, your thoughts about the 890 Jump and falling into that area of capital class? I think it's mostly due to the type of module or components that it has on it.
What's the question specifically?
Your thoughts about the 890 Jump. That's all, as a capital class.
First of all, I need more people on it because I need a chef to make my peanut butter jelly sandwiches. So we have to make sure that person's at least counted for that.
So you need more than 3 people? Is that what you're saying?
I need more than 3 people. And to make sure the pool is clean, because you know how nasty those things get.
Yeah.
But
it's funny.
I think this is like one of those, one of the biggest ships between this and the Reclaimer. They're like, oh, this is like a capital ship, and I don't want to get rude, so I'm not going to say anything, but I just think it was CIG's attempt to say that we can make big giant ships, and this is a big giant ship. It's also if you took out the hangar in the front, you put some slides, it'd be like in a lot more beds in there. You'd have a cruise ship. So I'm just not big on taking a relatively leisure vessel and claiming that role for the ship, because I tend to look at capital ships as military ships, based off of historical Navy data and real world examples.
Mm-hmm.
But I think for many people that this was their kind of big intro into like seeing what CIG is bringing to the table. And I think, I mean, like Jade said, she has many, parties on there, and I've seen the streams; they're quite impressive. And I think for many, and to include yourself, it just kind of goes to show like what the possibilities are for the game. But we'll see, what type of missions we can get and stuff like that. I know there's like, we're gonna have like be able to move people around and to see if you can rent out these things to NPCs and players. I can't remember who. I know there's a member of Soul Citizens who talks about like going around and visiting things. So, and so anyway, so I don't want to stay on that, but I just think it's a good chip for everybody to have, and for the community to have. I'll say that because it kind of like gave everybody hope. I think this is the first ship that really gave everybody hope that Star Citizen was really turning into something cool, because they really did a very good job in this. It's very, very beautiful inside, and looks like the 600 is going to be fantastic. So I don't know.
Okay. Captain Jones, 8 people on an 890 jump, 205 meters. Any thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, it really goes back to what it is you're doing with it. I mean, you can run it with 3 people, someone flying, and that's one person for one of the turrets, and I want to make sure the ship doesn't catch on fire. But then, if that's all you're doing, really, what do you bring the 890 jump out for? So, to be effective, this is the ultimate touring ship. It's got, Kusanagi mentions pools, it's got a bar, it's got dining, it's got kitchen, it's got so many amenities that just those amenities alone, you're going to need a lot more crew manning all of that. And that's if things don't go wrong. That's if you don't need somebody manning turrets. That's if you don't need to run downstairs and use the battle bridge. That's if you don't have things catch on fire and need an engineer. So yeah, I think those numbers we're talking about affecting this gameplay is pretty low. If you're really looking at having a full touring experience with the full soup to nuts of cooking and bartending and all of that, but if you want to just fly around and look at sites with a minimal crew, you could.
Let me ask you a question then. I have not flown an 890 into an engagement in years, literally. And it's not because I haven't run it. I haven't done it. I don't fly it enough to have an engagement. And I'm asking this because you guys, I know Captain Jones, you're much more current in what ships' capabilities are and where they stand in the game right now. One of the things the 890 got added to it was the PDCs. Now, PDCs, and you and I were talking about this the other day, there were only 2 ships in the game originally that were ever, in their brochures, talked about PDCs. The Polaris wasn't one of them. None of those ships had them, but the 890 jump did, and it was designed as a point defense system to protect it. And both of you guys have seen the commercial for the 890, right? They've got all this great stuff going on, people having a party, but there's something that happens in there in particular. It's when a group of fighters come in to attack it, and the ship is basically defending itself. Is this ship, is it realistic in what we saw? I mean, because there are missiles on here, there are gun turrets on here, and I'm saying if it's manned, and I have not done this in a while, so I don't know. I'm not saying yay or nay. I just don't know. Is this ship defensible, or is it, no matter what, it's just it's a sitting duck?
We factor in the changes for 4.7 is definitely
with the new armor changes. Okay.
Yeah, definitely be able to defend itself, and that's assuming that you are fully crewed, because the way this ship is laid out, sure you have turrets and ways to defend yourself, but everything's so far away from each other. So it's not one of these ships where people could just run from one defensive station to another and defend it. Whoever runs up to that turret all the way up front, they might as well just live there. They're not gonna go anywhere else.
Yeah.
So can it defend itself? Sure. I mean, it has the capital shields, it has the hit points, it's gonna have the armor. But would you want to be in a situation where you're forced to do that? Probably not, because the only way it would have to have enough crew to to cover all of those spots, which means you got to have a lot more than 3 people.
Yeah. Well, the intention, I would think that for a ship this scale, first of all, I think Admiral mentioned this earlier. It's a communal ship. It's designed to carry quite a few people. You're not taking the ship out you're taking 3 people out. You can take smaller touring ships out if you want to do that. But if you have a ship like this and you've got 20 people, 30 people, your goal at that point is to keep those people safe, right? So the defensive capabilities are there to give you enough time to basically get away. The idea of, we joke around about people putting tanks on the top of it and firing. That's not what this ship is about. Even people have fun doing it, and that's fine. But the idea is that can you protect your people and get them out safely, to your point? And I think you're right. You do still need to have a decent complement of people on board. I don't know if you want to necessarily tell your guests, hey, hand them a gun, and say, hey, you got to ready to protect the ship. Maybe you will do that. I don't know, but I'm just kind of curious as to, is this ship capable? And I'm glad you said that in light of the new armor changes. This ship may be formidable in the sense of, if you're going to go after it, it's going to take a lot. And CIG kind of alluded to the fact that this ship is not going to be just some easy target, when it's out there in the universe.
Yeah, it shouldn't be easy. It shouldn't be easy if it's fully crewed. I mean, you have a hangar there, you can bring out a fighter. And one thing we haven't really mentioned when it comes to the large ships is a big part of the goal with these ships isn't going to be blowing them up. It's going to be boarding them. So part of that crew is, guarding the ingress and egress points, making sure that you're not getting boarded. So you're going to need significant crew for these bigger ships to, when things go wrong, you're not going to be okay with 3 people.
Yeah. Good point. Okay. All right, gentlemen. We'll go to the more interesting stuff here. Okay, this one we have, the Idris. Length 240 meters, minimum crew of 8, maximum crew of 28. Now, these numbers I don't think have changed very much, at least the 28 number. I think I always remember the Idris having a pretty decent number of people for a max crew. It did come down a little bit, I think, from back in the day. Do you guys remember? For some reason, I feel like this is still close to what it's always been.
I remember it being in that same range.
Right, same range. Okay, yeah. I don't remember the minimum number, but the max number I think I do remember. 24 to 30, something like that. Anyway, your thoughts on this one, Captain Jones? I know you own an Idris. Admiral, do you own an Idris?
I do.
Okay, so both of you guys. Okay, so you guys can be the ones to talk about it. When you walk around this monster with your chest stuck out wide, when you think about taking this thing out, I know there's a now and a later. So give me your thoughts on it. Cap, we'll start with you.
So if we speak to now, this is one of the ships that seems to be flipped a little differently than what we looked at previously. So if we look at some of the other ships that are made for battle, like the Polaris, to be fully effective in there, you do need a lot of people, because the main crux of its combative capabilities comes from people being in turrets, people being able to shoot those torpedoes. When it comes to the Idris, as many people know, the pilot has control of his main DPS, so you can fly it and fight with it and be fairly effective. And then anybody that you add on there is a bonus. You got people in the turrets to keep other ships off of you. Obviously you want to have an engineer. And a ship this big, one engineer is probably not going to be enough, because how are you going to take care of a fire or a module only that's overheating on the first floor if you're on the 3rd floor? So you can run this with minimum crew effectively. It's a little sad that you can run such a big ship effectively. In the current gameplay, you really don't need 8 people. If you want to count all of those turrets being filled, then sure, but in reality, most of the damage isn't coming from those turrets, it's coming from the BFG up front.
Okay. Admiral, your thoughts?
I tend to run multi-crew ships with the most amount of people I can get on them for the roles and positions. Well, the question does come down to into, you know, everything is like, if you look at Star Trek, right? How many times did Star Trek movies have a, oh, we're on we've got the trainees on here and we have to go into a battle, like Star Trek 2, I think, and
Mhm.
I think even Star Trek 1 was, they were missing people. We don't have the science officer now.
Right.
And Star Trek 5 may have been like that. So all the time you had these, yeah, Star Trek 5 had like half a crew. So
Mhm.
you always had these issues came in where they were missing all these people, and then you kind of needed them when shit went downhill. So for me, if I can get like a full Perseus, I'll go
Mhm.
for full Perseus. If I can get a full Paladin, I'll go full Paladin. If I can get 20 people in for an Idris, sure, cool. We're okay. That's cool. I don't like to undergun things when, just because I'd rather have bored people than a burning ship.
Mm.
And and because in the future when costs come into play,
Mhm.
and how long it takes to get stuff from a claim, or if I have to travel to a system to pick it up, or I have to hire somebody to go pick it up, or whatever needs to happen for that, we're not
Mhm.
sure. I would rather just kind of be on the side of caution.
Yeah.
For the way the game is now, yeah, I could see that with the new mission that comes up with that giant beam weapon on the 4-7 mission where it just
Uh-huh.
blew through the Polaris. Maybe you want a full crew with that. So maybe that's like where we're going.
Right.
So I kind of think that I would rather just just have people where they're supposed to be. And if
Mhm.
shit goes downhill, I don't have to pull people off a turret to go, fix the shields in the backside, or something like that. I'd rather not have to pull people away where they, because the ship is falling apart. I'd rather just have them keep fighting, and protecting the ship as much as they can.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, again, it comes down to how we've been playing now, how we've been playing up to now, and when is that point that really we got to think about kind of creating a more defined crew limits into actually having a ship being fully functional.
Yeah.
But again, it seems like a lot of the people play like Star Trek 1, Star Trek 2, and Star Trek 5. Um,
Mhm.
so that's kind of like how it is. Star
Okay.
Trek 3, I'm thinking Star Trek 3 actually had a full crew. I think they did. But yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to mention 2 points here because I'm just realizing our time has really flown past us here. One of them is Starship
Okay.
Grim is here, and we want to give a shout out to him. But I want to mention a point that he mentioned in relation to larger ship capital battles and fights and things like that. Captain Jones, one of the things I hope that they do, and I know there are going to be some people who are going to hate when I say this. I've always felt that they should make it so that on the Idris, on these big ships, you should have a weapons officer. The pilot should not be firing the gun. The main gun should not be fired by them. I would rather see coordination between a weapons officer and a pilot. I think that there needs to be where the weapons officer has a HUD that allows them to have some flexibility of aiming, but that pilot needs to make sure that ship is oriented in that direction, coordinate with the weapons officer and the captain who's in charge when to fire that gun. Because to me, giving the pilot that role is just too much, and it moves away from cooperative play. So when you start getting into, you have weapons officers, just like you have the torpedo area, to me, that needs to be coordinated gameplay between the pilot, the captain or the commander, the weapons officer, the torpedo person. And to me, it makes sense. But I get it for right now. And I just hope that that's what they do later. That's just my personal opinion.
Sounds like Spaceship Yamato from
The other thing I want to
Battlestar.
say, well, I mean, Cap was saying that it gets to be a bit much when the pilot has that level of control. The other thing though is that to your point, which you were saying a few minutes ago, Admiral, about the complement having the right amount of people, and he said that these big ships, when they're crewed, are going to be much more difficult to take down because the crew, while you're hammering them, is at the same time fixing the ship. And if you've got people,
Mhm.
enough bodies on board that are repairing a component, making sure it stays up, exterior damage may be happening, but they're keeping that ship alive. And you've got ships out there with ballistics or whatever, they're getting slowly taken out, or they're running out of ammunition. it could take a long time to take these ships down. I know when we did an Idris, we talked about this before. We did an Idris battle one night. It took us freaking almost 5 hours to blow this thing up. And this was with us hitting it with everything but the kitchen sink. We were launching size 9s. I mean, it was crazy how long it took us to get that ship taken down. It was against the NPC ship. But it also, the thing was, its PDCs were nailing our torps. We'd launch torps out and the thing was just taking the torps out. We couldn't even touch it, you know. So, you know, these big ships are supposed to be ships that they're not easily taken down. And I know that's been an issue recently, you know, with the light fighters being able to take down these ships. And there's still some things that need to be worked out. But we know CIG is moving to a place where these capital class ships, it's going to take a whole lot to take them down. They're not going to be easy targets. They may not even be worth it unless you bring the right stuff to the party. And I think that that's what CIG's I have no doubt about that's what's going to happen. I know that's been in their thing. They said a $90 Gladius is not supposed to be able to take out a whatever dollar, you know, Polaris or Idris. It just doesn't make sense. And I know people are frustrated by that, but I think it will be addressed in time. Let me speed through these next couple real quick.
The Kraken Griff.
We'll get there when we get to the end. We'll get to the end. We're not there yet. I don't think we're there yet. I think the Kraken's still bigger than these. Hull E. Make it real quick. 4 to 5 people. What do you guys think? Admiral, 4 to 5. 4 minimum, 5 max on a Hull E. And they've changed the scale on this too. The ship has changed in its size. It's no longer the 96,000 SCU. It's down to 12,000 something. Is that enough to defend it, take care of it, protect it? I know you got to kind of base it on a Hull C right now.
By its size, sure, leave it at 5 because it's probably, I don't remember, what was it, have like 3 turrets, and it's
well. Let's see, a Hull C. If we took a Hull C, you've got 3 in the cockpit. Well, a Hull C has 3 in the cockpit. You've got 2 turrets on a C. I think you got the tractor beam area, gun turret area. I think.
I'm just saying, like, what's that worth? I mean, if you lose that ship, you want the extra person there, so it's kind of worth it to get an extra body and put them.
If you're carrying that much stuff, if you're carrying 12,000 SCU stuff, okay.
I mean, unless you want to put like 3 people in it and then have two pilots out there, you could do that. But I mean, I don't. Maybe that's a bad idea. Maybe it's better to have just those pilots inside the ship. I don't know. Probably, I would assume you'd want the cover. But yeah, when you're talking about this type of money in the back, you're in the back trunk. No.
Yeah. I mean, the engineering area on a Hull C is all the way in the back. I mean, on a Hull C, the engineering area is big. You know what I mean? It's got multiple decks, and you know, to run from the front of the ship to the back of the ship is no joke on a Hull C. I can't imagine what a Hull E or even a D is going to be like.
I just feel like ships like this, if you can't man them fully, then get the smaller ship. I have a D. I don't have an E. I have a D. So the goal would be and I have a B below that. So that's the way I look at
it. Okay, Captain Jones, your thoughts? Hull E, 4 people, 5 people max. They're gonna be okay since they're shrinking it down a little bit more.
I think it'd be perfectly fine. I mean, the ship is semi-truck. It's not. Doesn't have a bunch of turrets. You have somebody dedicated in engineering, somebody to man turrets if they have to, and then somebody flying the ship. Until this day, I still can't understand why the whole series have those captain's chairs. I mean, the 2 chairs plus the captain's chair. And I'm not sure what they're all doing in that ship, but I can't see ever needing more than 5 people in that ship.
Okay, that's fair. That's
the push buttons. All the captain does is push buttons in there. Like, yay! I see you playing canaster in the back. Put that game down.
Okay, now we're getting into the ship sizes here. The Javelin, currently the largest obtainable ship for players or for backers in the game. Minimum crew of 12, maximum crew of 65. The length of this is 475 meters. Any thoughts on this one? You know, we're getting into ships that, you know, people look at these ships, Idris on up. People start looking at these as being what we would call org ships, you know, ships that organizations would be running and operating more than anybody else. Not that small groups couldn't do it, but they're definitely the larger scale ships if you're going to complement them to their maximum capacity. What are you guys' feelings about ships like this? I mean, I look at ships like the Javelin and the Idris, and I know somebody who has 5 freaking javelins. 5 javelins. How practical are these going to be in the universe? I mean, will you be able to get, now, I don't even talk about 65. Let's just say we double the minimum, 24 people. What do you guys think about that? Admiral, I'll come to you first on this one. Is this going to be overkill? Or is it going to actually happen? Are people going to be excited and yeah, they're in it?
Overkill or what?
Well, no, I'm just saying, it's saying 65 is the max crew. That's a lot of people to get together.
That is a lot of people to get together. But I mean, how many turrets are on that thing? If
it's quite a few.
A formidable, ship to come at you, and only you got like 2 people on a turret, or maybe you got just like, say you get 10 people on turrets, which means you have half, like 5 on the top, 5 on the bottom. I'm like, okay, well, it's probably has the capability of an Idris now, or less than that, or maybe it has the capability of a Polaris, fully crewed Polaris at you. But you just have to watch them for those torpedoes. But if you've got what it appears to be 16 main turrets on the top and bottom, fully manned, and I'm not including the back side that I'm looking at, then that's a very, very dangerous ship. And that's just the turrets, and then not including all the stuff inside, and yeah. So, and who the hell is moving those giant size 12 torpedoes around? I have no idea. I see that needing a lot of people. I would say at least, if you want to like half-ass it, then you could, half-ass it would be like 30.
Okay.
If you can get 30 people together, take a javelin, give it a shot. If not, crew the damn Idris and call it a day.
Okay. Sunir Mukul, thank you for that sub. I see it. 20 months, super delayed anniversary alert. Thank you. We appreciate that. Captain Jones, the Javelin, 65 people. Holy smoke. Is that just crazy, or is it make sense, or who knows, right? I mean, we've got all these vital areas of these ships. We haven't even talked about areas of the ship that could get like shut down. Like one of the areas I always think about, and they show this on the is the freaking anti-gravity. What happens when the anti-gravity goes off on a ship, right? Fire suppression in these big ships, right? These big monster ships, right? What are you gonna say, Cap?
Yeah, so we've looked at a lot of ships, and a lot of those ships, for the min number, had a number probably needed a little bit more to be fully effective. And I usually agree with some of those. In this case, 12 just isn't enough, and not even being fully effective, just being effective, period. I mean, if just looking at, it's a destroyer, so you want to be able to destroy stuff, right? It's like, how are you going to do it if you don't have people manning those guns? Otherwise, you're just flying around looking intimidating. But 12 people isn't enough to give the full complement of DPS that the ship is capable of. And then you got to factor in, you're getting shot back at. So who's doing the repairs? Who's doing the engineering? Who's reloading the armaments? Who's guarding the docking collars to make sure that Legionnaires not sneaking in? I mean, 12 people on a ship this big is just going to be an easy target for someone to take that ship away from them.
Okay. 475 meters. This thing's a monstrosity. Okay. The bingo carrier. A lot of excitement from the community. Back in the day, the rumor about the bingo carrier was that there may be 1 or 2 out in the universe that have been abandoned or partially working, and if an org found it, they could spend time rebuilding it and getting it together and having it. And then at CitizenCon a couple of years ago, we saw one in a dry dock, and CIG implied that this is also something that may be being able to build. But I'm looking at the complement numbers. Now, mind you, this is not on the website. This is from the wiki. And I tried to find out where the wiki got this number from, so I don't know. But the wikis usually, they're pretty good on looking up numbers. It may be a lore number. I don't know. But the number here is a minimum of 755 to 1,000. Now, some people may think that number is ludicrous, Captain Jones, but this ship is literally almost a kilometer long. It is long. It's a big ship. Is this realistic? 755 to 1,000 people on a ship. Let's cut that number down. 500. Everybody wants to build a bingo, but nobody wants to build a bingo. I'm curious. What are your thoughts, Captain Jones, on the bingo?
See it needing to be fully effective, a large number of crew. I mean, as you've already noted, the ship is humongous. If you put the Javelin, which we already noted, it's going to take significant crew next to it, it might be able to size up next to one of the engines. So if you think about the size compared to what we're used to looking at, and I don't know how many people may have seen it during the Invictus, but if you flew anything that we have flyable next to it, it just dwarfed it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the ship has a train in there, so hey, I know I'll need at least a couple of train operators, and then I need somebody to maintain the train, and the crew needed to make this ship effective. It's going to be significant. Crew needed to get out the dock and fly it around and be just like every other ship, one or two people. But and again, can you do anything with it? Probably not.
Okay. To answer the question that was put into the chat, how many people are on an aircraft carrier? A U.S. Navy aircraft carrier holds typically between 5,000 and 6,000 personnel when fully operational. So it just gives you a rough estimate number. Admiral, your thoughts? 755 to 1,000. You got to have 755 friends, Admiral. What are your thoughts?
I don't have that many friends. Well, okay, so let's go down to the simplest locations you need.
Okay.
None of the internal stuff. So you've got, how many planes are you going to have on it?
Right.
You're going to hold, well, plus you can probably hold, multi-crew ships on there, too. I think if I remember correctly, it can hold a couple of retaliators in that thing.
Mm-hmm. So, it holds a lot.
Just say you could put, I don't know, 20, 30 planes on this stupid thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm looking it up, and it looks like it's got 90 turrets. Now, the 90 turrets is equipped with both manned and unmanned turrets, but I imagine if it's unmanned, then you're going to have somebody sitting in a seat someplace, playing it like Atari. So that's 90 people. We'll just say some of it's AI controlled or NPCs. Let's just say, but it's still, even if you said 45 real people, it's 45 real people.
Right.
This thing gets ridiculous in terms of the size of this thing, and we haven't even gotten to the next thing, which we'll get to soon. But it's probably similar. But I think this is the big daddy besides the Retribution.
Yeah.
But you could probably 90. Let's just say 80, and then 50 for maybe flight crew, or 40 for flight crew. 120 plus people 150. You're over 150. Really, you're probably over 150. And I think at 150 with a kilometer long, it's going to feel pretty empty, which is kind of crazy to think, because if you're running back and forth, you'll see so many golf carts driving around trying to get put out fires and shit. It's ridiculous.
So let me ask you a question. Is this ship the type of ship that groups like Imperium or ADI or Test Squadron? I mean, is this kind of they're the groups that would maybe possibly break one of these things out and a war would start? Or, if somebody finds out that ADI came out with their bingo, and it's going to draw like flies, right? It's going to be like honey being thrown out there. Is that what the scenario is going to be? Because everybody's not going to have one of these. I know everybody talks about they want to build one, but it's the operational aspects of a ship of this scale. Even if you cut that down to 1/10 of the amount of people, is that going to be the scenario that when you see these, they'll be rare? And when they are, you'll have a big org that would be operating it. Is that what you think is going to happen with a ship like a Bengal?
For me, I think it's very cost prohibitive to use this ship. To talk on, oh boy, Zayu Zetcatl, if that's your name. This is actually the biggest carrier in Star Citizen. The Pegasus is what we believe is an escort carrier, which actually is which is a smaller ship, smaller aircraft carrier. But the Bengal is the big one, at least for the UEE. but yeah, like so, like this is like when like so look at the American military. The American military operates it moves its aircraft carriers and nuclear subs, and it's actually those are the two capital ships for the U.S. Navy. The only capital ships in the U.S. Navy are aircraft carriers and Navy subs due to their destructive capability, and it puts regions on notice when they show up. So if you showed up in the Pyro system with a carrier, like people would be like, "Oh, crap! How do I deal with this?" If you show up with an Idris, it's like, "Okay, let's go take this thing out." So that's where that's how I look at capital ships, and so like that's I look the battle cruisers. I think are in that same category. If like these things show up, it's like this is a big deal. So that's why like you'll see nuclear subs pop out of the Arctic ice, and they take a picture of it and they put it on social media because hey, look at Russia, look at China. This is what we can do. So it's all a big marketing, PR stunt. Just
Right.
kind of like they wave flags and like look what we can do, and that's why they're so big.
But to your point, which I didn't know, it's basically significant if something like a carrier or a submarine shows. It's looked at, it's viewed differently. It's viewed completely differently.
Yes, because it puts an entire region of like an ocean on notice. Like there's the amount of capability that the Navy has at that given moment. Now, an American carrier fleet, which I would assume a UEE fleet has also support ships, which in this case would be Javelins or Idrises and so forth. So it's that combined strike power that these ships really command attention to, and that's what this ship does. This ship really it's like, oh Jesus, like this is a big deal. So that's why I think this is like the pinnacle thing here.
Yeah. There's some funny comments in the chat. CC Creator said you got to have at least one to three people for crafting. And Danger Hobo said you need at least 50 cooks. Okay. So
1,000 people, you need a few cooks,
Yeah. We're going to try and drop to these last three. I know we're over, guys. We're going to try and get this done within the next 6 minutes if possible. This is a ship that we've heard about over the last year. CIG has mentioned that this is going to be the last of the concept ships. Folks are looking forward to possibly even at Invictus getting a hint or a clue to what the battle cruiser will look like. It was something that was mentioned during the milestones. What do they call it? The what's the word, Admiral? When they announced the battle cruiser with the milestones with the money. The what? Crowdfunding. It's crowdfunding. Yep. And so the thing is, we don't know enough about the battle cruiser. We really don't. And the reason why I'm nervous about this is that when I look at the Bengal carrier, a lot of us have been feeling like it's going to land somewhere between the Bengal carrier and the what's it called, Admiral? The next ship, the Pegasus, right? Which is an escort carrier, and that's the next biggest ship. But my concern is that if the Bengal carrier is saying 755 to 1,000, what does that mean that this ship? Now, that doesn't mean that this ship necessarily has to have a bigger complement of people, but I'm just saying if it is it may be the same size as a Bengal but different, or maybe it lands between the Idris and the Bengal. We don't know exactly, but I do worry about if it is between. What does that mean in relation to how many players have to occupy a ship like that? Either one of you guys, and I know our time is limited. I'm not. Whoever wants to say something about the battle cruiser, and considering the Javelin, if you're talking real cost, is $3,000. I've heard people say some crazy numbers about what they would pay for a battle cruiser. If you guys have any idea of what you all think that would be, feel free to talk first. Captain Jones go first. All right, Cap.
Sure. I think potentially the battle cruiser is just going to be the Bengal carrier with 4 guns. So instead of being a carrier, it's going to be battleship. When you're watching the Squadron 42 piece that we got during CitizenCon, you could see that there were Bengal variants in that fleet. And knowing the way Sig likes to give us variants as a new ship, I could see them just taking an easy road and giving us a new Bengal.
Doing a variant on that. Okay. Something more with guns and than the carrier. Admiral, your thoughts?
Yeah, I have to agree that the Squadron 42 reveal, for people who haven't seen it, if you really want to check out what Star Citizen is going into, check out the Squadron 42 reveal from 2 years ago. It's the prelude to the game, and it shows an escort carrier, which we're about to get to, and it shows some major turrets on some Bengal-esque looking ships. So they were missing the top engines. They had the giant big engines below. And the assumption is that that's either the battle cruiser or the cruiser. Now, why do I say different? Why do I split those up? Is because if you look at the crowdfunding goals, at 4.5 million crowdfunding gold, they say that Star Citizen will feature an additional playable ship, the cruiser. And then at $17 million, they differentiate another ship, and they say Star Citizen will feature an additional playable ship class, the battle cruiser. So at two different funding goals, they split. There's a difference there. I think that the upcoming sale will possibly feature two different versions. Maybe one will have maybe 3 turrets, maybe one will have 2 turrets. Maybe it's different size engines or so forth. But if they're going off of what people were originally crowdfunded for, they should be delivering us 2 different size ships. So that's what I'm going off of that.
Okay.
So yeah, but I think I think the crew complement. I don't know what the interior of a ship is, because now you actually have a lot more crap in there. Whereas in the Bengal carrier, it's just all empty space. Now you do have these giant turrets that are now sitting possibly in like the spine of the ship that are taking up that space, to include the backside, because there's a giant turret in the back end. But of course, that would be like the hangar version, the rear hangar, because the open hangar goes from the back to the front.
Right.
So it could just be used space from the turrets themselves, because they just have to sit in something really sturdy.
Yeah.
So it could use less people than the Bengal, could use more because you don't need flight crew. So yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, this year, hopefully we'll see something, some type of, this is the last concept ship. So maybe we'll see some artwork at the very least for it. What do you guys think the price point would be if it's bigger?
I say 6. I'm pretty confident. I think it's gonna be about 6,000.
Yowza! You think people will pay that, huh? $6,000, or they'll melt and upgrade to it?
Have you talked to people from this community?
Not about that ship. I haven't. No, I'm just curious. What do you say, Cap?
Yeah,
I think it'll be at least that, maybe more, and I don't think they have a problem.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
It's maybe like 10 grand. And people, how many?
I mean, they already sell out of the Javelin in 3 seconds, and it's at 3K.
I know, which blows my mind.
I don't think it's going to be a problem.
I really think though it should be Warbond only. If they want to make money from it, it should be like 6K Warbond only.
God.
Get it next year.
What about 5K Warbond $6,000 credit? How about that? You can go that route, maybe.
6,500 credit.
All right.
You have to last entire address to get it.
Yeah. Last but not Leo Jade, you're funny. 30K, right? Okay. Last but not least, this is not a ship that, as far as we know of, that we will have access to. I'm not going to go into the retribution or anything like that. I'm just only putting this here because this is the next ship that would be after the battle cruiser, more than likely, and that's the Pegasus. As you can see, the design on this is completely different than any of the other ships that we've seen. It is an escort carrier. I think ships like this and the Retribution are ships that we will see in Squadron 42, and we know that we're going to see them there. Maybe not in the first episode, who knows? But those are the 2 next largest ships so far that we know of: the Pegasus, and then finally the Retribution, which is some ridiculous number in size. Do you remember, Admiral, what the Retribution is in length? It's some unbelievable.
I think they said it's long.
Yeah, it's comparable to the Kingship, a little bit longer than the Kingship. Or is the Kingship longer than that?
It is longer than a Kingship.
Almost 2,800 meters.
Oh my God. Okay.
But this ship here, the Pegasus, I think they replaced the design and put it in the Squadron 42 reveal, because there's
is it in there?
There is a ship. It has E carrier. If you look at the holo table, and so that we think it's an escort carrier.
Okay.
So
They may have redesigned it.
I would have. This is actually the carrier that I wanted. But if they made it to look like the Bengal because it was easier and quicker to do, then that's what they did.
That's what Grim says. Cyberwolf, I've heard that it's been, you might be on point, shelved and replaced that Bengal variant. I don't know. We'll see. Show us, Admiral. I would love to see it later on.
I heard the same thing. That from what they've talked about, the Pegasus don't exist anymore.
Okay.
Kraken.
All right. Oh, Kraken. Okay, Kraken. All right, real quick. I don't have a picture of the Kraken, but most of you all know what the Kraken looks like.
It's a giant octopus-looking thing.
Grim, I know you're here. Grim is the Kraken fiend. He is a Kraken man. He's cracking himself over the Kraken. Grim, what is the length on the Kraken? Do you know what the new numbers are or what the numbers are? I'll even take the old ones. No, oh yeah, okay. I'll pull up one while you can. What happened was, Grim, before you got here, I announced that I inadvertently forgot to put the Kraken on the list. I know it's blasphemous for me to not have the Kraken up here.
On purpose.
I know.
270.
He says 270. All right. Yeah. Admiral, let me go to you on that one with the Kraken. Your thoughts on the Kraken?
It says it needs 10 people. Okay, if you say so.
Is that what the numbers say for real?
Yeah, it says 10 people.
Ooh, good googly moogly. 10 people.
We got the skeleton crew going on here for the skeleton ship because apparently it's made out of twigs and so forth. Yeah, I mean, if that's what they need to man the turrets and keep the thing running, sure. I mean, that seems like the most realistic thing to get for that size ship. I mean, for all the ships we talked about today, I think out of the whole night, like that's the most reasonable thing to get a big ship up in the air.
Oh my goodness!
And of course, that doesn't include flight crew and so forth. But it's 10 people for the actual ship.
Yeah,
that's what they say.
10 people. And what's the maximum number? 10?
10. It just says 10.
That's oh my god.
There's no min crew on that. It doesn't say.
And what's the minimum? What's the minimum?
And it doesn't say minimum. It just says 10.
Oh, okay. Wow. Under specifications, there's no minimum. Look under specifications on the bottom. It should be a min max number there.
No min crew. No.
It's not really? No. Wow. Okay. All right. Grim, just for you, buddy. All right. It's not the best one, but it was the quickest one I could find. All right. Yeah. Captain Jones, your thoughts about this? This thing has flight decks. It's got multiple hangars, maintenance bays. It used to have a train running through it. I don't know if the train is still a thing that's in there. I think they said they pulled that. I don't know. But it's a big freaking ship. Big ship.
Yeah, it's pretty 10 seems reasonable. And that's not factoring in, as Admiral brought up, the flight deck crew. So if you want to have the ship fully effective, you know, carrying ships and everything that you hope it could do, I could see you needing more, but to make sure you man the turrets, as a big ship, you're gonna need multiple engineers. Yeah, you should be fine with 10. Plus, as Admiral said, it only says 10, so we don't know what that 10 means. 10 men, 10 max, or is it just 10? Do what you want. So we don't know if the life support holds 10, if there's going to be 10 crew quarters, who knows? But yeah, I can see 10 working out.
Okay. Well, Grim says, one thing that I can confirm, Gavin Rothery, the designer, did confirm to me that it was designed to its current metrics. So I don't expect it to grow much at all, probably be around the stated length. Okay. Yeah. So this is interesting. Now, the interesting thing about this particular cap is that CIG is working on this, and there is a lot of promise or a lot of prospect to the fact that this ship may release next year, which would be really interesting. But we know that CIG told us, that committed, that they have been with them working on the Drake. What's the ship called? The Ironclad.
Ironclad.
That the Ironclad was the step toward moving toward this particular ship. Drake is the next thing they've been focusing on a lot. So this will be a monstrosity if this thing enters the universe. It will be really interesting to see this ship fly by. We've seen little hints of it here and there in CIG animations from time to time. At one point, for you old folks that were here, we even had the Kraken sitting out at Hurston outside the spaceport for quite a while. And it was pretty impressive to see it sitting out there. but we've seen it in a couple other videos. We've seen it in some of the Jax videos, and but now we know that they are working on this ship. So, and there are modifications to the ship. They've done some improvements to it for sure. So that's the Kraken. Okay. All righty. We are done, gentlemen. Thank you all for your
Q&A,
patience.
And
yeah, I am. Thank you guys first before I get there, though. I want to thank you guys for your patience and going over on our time a little bit, because we normally would have been done by now. So we're going to take a quick look at a couple of the questions. I saw Pops and some other folks threw some stuff in earlier. And it's only a few of them here. The first one that we've got was from Pops in Space. He says, do you think CIG should drop the practice of classifying ships by components? Oh, before I get to this, Pops, forgive me. I'm going to come back to your question in a second. Admiral gave us some really good information here when he talked about which ships are considered technically in the U.S. military. I'm referring to U.S. military that really fall into the category of capital class ships. But Admiral, real quick, if you had to work your way, I'm going to ask you to work your way from top to bottom instead. I know I said the other way around earlier, but if you would just give us the ships that you think fall into a capital class of the ships that we've looked at, which ones would you name? And you're just giving me your honest opinion based on.
I'm not in the Navy now. I was in the Army and
right.
I have Army and Air Force experience.
Air Force. Okay, I'm sorry. Air Force. I'm sorry.
Both. We have both. And then I've talked to other veterans or other people who look at stuff like this. And again, I think it's like the bigger ships, mostly the ships that we don't have yet. I do think the Javelin probably classifies that. And I do ask, and I just asked a question in chat for us. I'm like, where are the subcapitals at? Because we don't have any subcapitals. Like, there's only one place that mentions subcapitals, and that's under the. If you look up the Eclipse, the Q&A for the Eclipse, that's the only place the CIG mentions subcapitals, and it's right in there. But I really feel like because of the size of the Bengal and how we talked about it being putting a system on notice that. Really, even though I have an Idris, I think that an Idris is actually a subcapital ship. It's the size of a Bengal engine. I mean, people like that idea, but I do think that other ships maybe should be brought up and moved around a bit. I think the Polaris could be brought up to a light frigate, and I think that the Perseus, the mining ship, and the Hammerhead could be. What was the one? Not frigates. The one that the Polaris is right now. The Polaris is a Corvette. I think those could be Corvettes. Yeah, I would bring those up to Corvettes.
Wasn't the Hammerhead designated Corvette at one point? Or no?
I think it's still a large ship. Let me look it up real quick.
But I thought at one point they called it a Corvette.
It was a Corvette for a minute, and now it's back to a gunship.
Oh, was it?
Okay.
See, CIG does that, again, in 2022 October, because I made a post to them. That's when they changed the Perseus to a frigate, and I was very confused why they did that. I think because they looked at it like it could be a light frigate. I think I did post to you, Griff, some classifications that I could put them in chat here real quick. That they actually showed in Star Citizen Tools, but they actually show the categories of that CIG has on I've been using, and they're right here. If I can
drop it in there for folks, please do.
Right there. So
let me ask you this one last question, Admiral, because of time. If the Bengal did not exist with those other ships that you mentioned, would they fall into what would be capital class at that point? If that was the biggest thing we had, like if the Idris or the Javelin was the biggest. Would they then move up, or you know what I'm saying? If the Bengal was not a factor,
if the Bengal variants never came into the game, then that would be the largest ship we ever have in the game as players. And that would be.
Then they would move up.
Ship. That would be because it would be It would be the most powerful ship of that line, or variants, or something similar sized, or it comes down to capabilities, because an aircraft carrier and a nuclear submarine are very, very different vessels. But because the power they can bring upon an area are so strong, one has nuclear missiles, then those both are actually capital class and replaced battleships like decades ago. And that's why they're not battleships anymore, because there's no need to have them anymore.
That makes
But like
sense.
you look at like a U.S. frigates, destroyers, cruisers are not known as capital ships, nor are any civilian vessels. Like if you look at ultra large like
Right.
crude carrying vessels, they have like designations into the Rome system, and they're not even thought of like that.
Gotcha.
But like there are space games like Eve and ED, Elite Dangerous. I think Elite Dangerous doesn't use it. They kind of separate the same way the military does it and the civilian sector, because they have like they have
Yeah.
they do that, and then Eve calls them different things, and they
Yeah.
have those mega ships and all that stuff.
Okay. Captain Jones, I know I said I was going to ask you to say something too about this, because you talked about, sometimes games create their own, no, what's it called? No, what's the word I'm looking for?
Nomenclature. Yeah.
Nomenclature.
So
So you
yeah. So
just give a brief thing on that real quick.
yeah, I just think Six missed the opportunity to use the KISS method. I mean, they do it with many of their ships with the light, medium, heavy, makes it easy to understand. We know we got light mining, medium mining, heavy mining. Then where they got into a little bit of a bind is aligning their current UE Navy ships with trying to align them to our current U.S. Navy naming conventions. And as Admiral mentions, there's not all ships can be capital ships. And what we've done here is, they started making ships bigger and bigger, and then it's like, well, what do we call them now? And we're just going to call them capital ships instead of coming up a sci-fi game. They could have came up with their own terminology, their own name for that size ships, and that would have alleviated a lot of the confusion. Because now you're debating, hey, is the 890 jump a capital ship? Well, it's a capital ship because it's a big ship, or it's a capital ship because it has capital components. Or the merchantman, what used to be a blockade runner, and now it's a capital ship. So they've made it a little messy. They had a really simple method before with light, medium, heavy, and then the class that goes with it. And I think if they wanted to have a alpha ship, a top dog ship, they should have just made up a name for it and kind of put their name on the map like other sci-fi genres have. Come up with something original.
Okay. All right, let me get back to the questions here. Do you think this is what Pops was asking, do you think CIG should drop the practice of classifying ships by components? And I think that it doesn't work well, Admiral. To that point, I think what Admiral just shared about how things are classified in the real world, and Captain Jones classifying how things could be done in the sci-fi world. And this is all a part of the development process. I know it seems like it should be just a real cut and dry thing, but as they've grown and as the ships have changed and everything else, I don't know. I kind of lean more toward what Captain Jones said, that if they created their own, descriptions and categories, that means they set the rules by that, and we're not trying to compare them to any other rules. It's their rules, it's their game. But the fact that they are using real world terms can be confusing for people, because there are people who, when you say the word frigate, they know what the expectations of that type of ship is. And if they get that ship and it doesn't do what a frigate does, and mind you, we can get to the whole thing about how Admiral mentioned this earlier, and Captain Jones did too. When these ships go out, we don't do this in the game now, but when these larger ships go out, they're escorted by other ships. And those other ships all have roles. And all of you guys saw the Squadron 42 opening. It wasn't just javelins out there. There were javelins surrounded by this, escorted by that, and followed by that. We're not doing that in the game yet. And until we get to a place where that happens, those titles don't become meaningful in any way. Those roles aren't as meaningful until we start playing that way. And hopefully CIG will design the game so that we do. It's not that you still can't solo, but it does mean that when you want to take your javelin out, you've got some other folks with you. Javelin by itself may seem like the coolest thing, but the reality of it is, nah, that ain't how it works. And especially carriers. Carriers are always escorted by things. So you taking your Kraken out there by itself, no, that's not realistic. Now, in the game world, you can do whatever you want. But hopefully these names and titles will make more sense based upon their roles and what they do in the game. So that's a good question, though, Pops. The other question here from Fastcard. Admiral, I got to blow through this, Admiral, because we're going on 3 hours on the show. How many capital ships do you have in your hangar? Admiral Kusanagi, come to you on that one.
No, I think just one right now. It would be the Idris, if based off of current terminology. So
okay.
I think that's the biggest ship I have right now.
That's fair. Captain Jones?
And Sig wants to call everything a capital ship, and anything that has capital in the title. I have Sans, the Kraken, and the Javelin.
Okay, and for me, I've got an Orion is considered capital. I've got a Banu Merchantman that's considered capital. I have an
I have that too.
890 that's considered a capital. I think that's it. Admiral because where's the subcaps? We talked about that. Last
Okay,
one here
since we
is
skip that question, I
yeah,
just
I
want to
know.
say, like,
Go
the
ahead.
Kraken. You mentioned the Kraken, right? And everybody
Right.
calls that a carrier, and yes, it carries ships, but like there's a variant of a vessel called an expeditionary sea base, and what this thing has is a flat top, and it's a
Mm-hmm.
double decker, and on the bottom deck it's open to the sea, so you can see it, and it's all cargo stuff. And on the
Mm-hmm.
top you can land like a crap ton of helicopters and stuff like that, and it looks like a
Mm-hmm.
regular ship, just like kind of like cut in half, took apart, and then put the stuff in it. And like that
Mm-hmm.
looks like a Kraken to me. If you ever look at it, it's called an ESB. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
that thing looks like a Kraken. And people dismiss the fact that this thing is a fantastic like mobile base where you
Yeah.
can sit down, you don't have to construct stuff, and you just like operate your operations out of this thing and utilize it. And then when you're done, you just take off and go.
Mm-hmm.
I love looking at that ship as an actual mobile base rather than per se
A
a
carrier.
flat carrier.
Yeah.
So
I think you mentioned this earlier too. Grim has a great video out on the Kraken. You guys check it out. On that video, he shows to what Admiral just said, all the wonderful, imaginative, and what I mean by imaginative, I mean in a good way, variants and variables, the way the Kraken can be used. A lot of people do just think of it like a quote unquote aircraft carrier, spacecraft carrier, but he has configurations for mining, for salvaging, for doing deep space this. It's a different way of looking at the ship. So if you haven't had time to take a look at it, check out Sergeant Grimm's video on the Kraken. And then last but not least, we've got a great question here from Coffee Gaming. Will capital ships be followed by a support fleet? And we just talked about that, Coffee. That is the way it should be, right? Sure, there are people that will go out solo. Not a big deal if they do it. And if they accomplish what they're doing, fine. But obviously, risk value, depending on what it is you're doing. Just like people now, some people will fly a whole sea by themselves. Some people will take a whole sea and say, hey, can I get a couple of escorts with me? It's going to be really just up to the player on how they want to play the game. But yeah, we would hope that escorting and things would be a big thing for people to do. Okay. All right. We have hit the mark here. We are almost 3 hours into this, but we had a great conversation with you guys. We were watching everything you guys were sharing too. You guys had a whole lot of stuff. Watch it with that pet squadron stuff out there, prisoner. I see you on that. But you guys have been sharing some really, really cool things with us. Let's talk about what we have coming up next week. Our next show, as I mentioned, we're kind of going back and revisiting and refreshing some things because things have changed over the years. And one of the things that we're going to be doing is revisiting the Star Engine presentation that was done at CitizenCon. And the reason why we're doing that is because we wanted to look at progress. What has been the progress? What has changed? Sometimes it feels like not much has changed when it comes to the progress of the development of Star Citizen. For some people, they feel like a lot has changed. So we're going to actually go through and just kind of check mark as we're watching that video. What are the things that we see that from the time of when that video came out a couple of years ago till now, you know, what has CIG been able to accomplish? What is now actually in the game and maybe what's still being worked on? So hopefully you guys will be able to join us on next Sunday for that show. And it'll be a lot of fun just sitting here with you guys and just saying, oh, yeah, that's not in the game yet. Or, oh, yeah, that is in the game now. Because it's so easy to miss some of those things. But we want to tell you guys to be here with us next Sunday. Once again, Admiral, thank you so much for being here. Admiral's always, whenever I ask him if he wants to come on the show, he's here. And I appreciate the fact that he made time to be here with us
I
today.
gotta figure this stupid green screen out, but it's like this VDO ninja thing, and I'm like,
it's okay. It works. It was good. If you wanted a background, I would have threw one behind you. I just thought you just were going green because of St. Patty's Day or something. I don't know.
Oh,
I didn't think
happy
to ask
St.
you
Patrick's
about
Day,
it.
everybody. This is my what is it called?
It's your
I forget
green.
what the event's called. This is
Yeah,
the
yeah.
CIG.
That's all it is. Yeah, the Stella Fortuna colors you had
Stella
on.
Fortuna, happy Stella
Yeah.
Fortuna, everybody. This is my
There you go.
background.
Captain Jones, also thank you very much for being here. Appreciate you as always sharing your knowledge and your RSI passion with us tonight. We are going to be rating. This is somebody new that I've never seen before. But Fastcart in his infinite wisdom has found a new face out there. This is Raze. Raze has only 30 people out there, but we are going to send you all over there. Looks like she is spawning in at the clinic. When you get over with Raze, let Raze know that you came from the Soul Citizens. If you like what you see, of course, follow, support. And again, thank you guys for being here with us tonight. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. And until we see you guys next time, take care of yourselves. Stay safe. Once again, Brian Chambers, we're thinking about you. Take care of yourselves. Peace, love, and soul. Talk to you guys later. Ciao.
Take care, guys.